Chapter 1089. Song Qing-shu snorted and said, "That was just the appetizer. Then what is the main course?" Miss Cheng's cheeks were red, and her eyes were shining with a strange light. Song Qing-shu stepped forward and picked her up. He said in a rough voice, "Of course the main course is my wife." Because Yellow Nanshin's skin had just cracked, he was worried that she wouldn't be able to bear it, so he held back his strength. In the end, she was stuck in a stalemate. Coupled with this blunder, he had been suppressing an evil fire in his heart and urgently needed to vent it out. Miss Chung cried out in alarm. Her eyes were evasive as she said, "Didn't Miss Yelu let you eat until you were full?" Song Qing-shu smiled evilly. "Young Manor Master Lu, didn't you ask me to help you get pregnant?" As the saying goes, one who is entrusted with a task must be loyal. "I will do my best until my death." Chung Yaojia let out a soft cry and buried her head in his bosom. In the end, her skin was not as thick as Song Qing-shu's. Song Qing-shu laughed heartily and carried her to his room. "Hey, young Master Lu is still awake so late?" After walking for a while, he suddenly ran into Lu Guaning. Lu Guaning looked tired, but his eyes revealed excitement from time to time. It was obvious that he had been studying the Bishiya swordplay all night and was immersed in profound martial arts. Lu Guaning saw him and subconsciously replied, "I was a little dizzy from reading, so I came out to get some fresh air." "Young master, you are." Speaking to this point, he finally saw Miss Chung in Qin Haodong's arms. For a moment, his expression was very interesting. I'm going to die. Why did I run into him at this time?" Miss Chung sighed. At this time, she could only bury her head in Song Qing-shu's arms like a panicked ostrich. Song Qing-shu was very calm. He smiled as if nothing had happened and said, "I just brought your wife out to admire the moon. Now I'm going back to sleep." Miss Chung almost fainted. It was already embarrassing enough that her husband saw her with his lover, but he deliberately said this. Was it not enough to provoke Lu Guaning? Lu Guaning's face twitched, and he didn't know how to answer. After thinking for a long time, he could only say, "Thank you for your hard work, young master." His original intention was to make Miss Chung pregnant. It was not an easy task, but when he said it, it sounded wrong. Miss Cheng's eyes rolled. Her husband's words were even more senseless. She couldn't help but feel a sense of absurdity. There was no such complicated relationship in the world. A wife and a lover were having an affair in broad daylight. Not only was the husband not amazing, but he was afraid that his lover wouldn't do her best. Young madam is as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. Not only is it not hard, it is also a rather enjoyable task. Song Qing-shu saw that he had provoked enough and changed the topic. The martial arts recorded in the Bishiya swordplay are extremely profound. Young master, when you cultivate, do not be greedy and rush to advance. If you have any doubts, you can come to me. Lu Guaning's face was very ugly. Although he was impotent, he had not been in this state for long. His mentality as a man had not changed yet. Originally, when he saw his wife in the arms of another man in the middle of the night, he felt a little uncomfortable. After being provoked again and again, he couldn't help but feel his blood boil. He almost went forward to take his wife back. While he was hesitating, he suddenly heard the Bishiya swordplay. Lu Guaning immediately calmed down. His yearning for advanced martial arts finally won over the pitiful self-esteem in his heart. He subconsciously answered, "I did encounter a few problems just now. I practiced according to the swordplay and felt my blood boil. That's the imbalance of yin and yang." Song Qing-shu casually explained for him. Just like that, Song Qing-shu answered several of her questions in succession, making Miss Chung extremely depressed. These two men were too much. Was this the time to ask for martial arts advice in this situation? She had become an outsider. Feeling resentful, Miss Chung quietly pinched the soft flesh on Song Qing-shu's waist. Song Qing-shu was slightly startled, but he quickly reacted and said, "Haha, young Master Lu, it's getting late." As the saying goes, a moment of one's body is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. As for other questions, young master can ask them next time. Miss Chung, who was in his arms, was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. What do you mean by a moment of one's body is worth 1,000 pieces of gold? Who said this to their husband? Lu Guaning also had a strange expression on his face. He smiled embarrassedly and said, I was rude. I won't disturb the two of you. He also felt that this matter was very *ket up. What the hell was going on? However, his main focus was still on the BCS swordplay manual. He kept repeating Song Qingshu's pointers in his mind, afraid that he would forget them later. Seeing his appearance, Song Qingshu laughed and carried Miss Chung back to his room. After entering the room, Miss Chung was about to complain, but just as she opened her mouth, Song Qingshu covered her mouth. Miss Chung was a bit surprised by the other party's rudeness. However, the strange thing was that she didn't dislike this kind of rudeness at all. Instead, her whole body inexplicably heated up. After quickly and easily undoing her clothes, Song Qingshu directly pressed her down on the bed. After a soul-stirring cry, the whole bed began to violently shake. The next morning, Song Qingshu woke up feeling refreshed. He saw Miss Chung lying beside him with her hair in a mess. She looked like a fresh flower that had been ravaged by a violent storm. However, there was a different kind of beauty to her. His fingers caressed her delicate face. Song Qingshu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. No wonder everyone says that a wife is better than others. At least you don't have to feel bad when using them. Yelun Nanxian's tear-stained face from last night suddenly appeared in his mind. His expression changed. Seeing that Miss Chung didn't have any intention of waking up for a while, he hurriedly put on his clothes and went in the direction of Yelun Nanxian's room. I'm leaving. Looking at the note in his hand, Song Qingshu couldn't help but smile bitterly. After what had happened, this result was not out of his expectations. He was experienced, or perhaps his skin was thick enough, so he was able to remain calm. But for a virgin like her to encounter such a drastic change, it was already very fortunate that she didn't seek death. I can't believe she left a note. Looking at the graceful yet heroic handwriting, Song Qingshu's originally somewhat disappointed mood suddenly became happy. When he came out of Yellow Nanxian's room, he unexpectedly bumped into Lu Guaning again. This time, the other party also saw him, and his expression was clearly a bit unnatural. Song Qingshu took the initiative to step forward and said with a smile, Young master, why are you up so early? Last night, I was immersed in the mysteries of the BCS swordplay manual. Unknowingly, the sun had risen. In fact, Lu Guaning wasn't telling the truth. Last night, he was indeed immersed in the BCS swordplay manual, but the faint voice of his wife coming from afar made his heart flutter. Young master still needs to strike a balance between work and rest. If you immerse yourself like this, you'll be at a disadvantage and could easily go berserk. Song Qingshu said seriously. Lu Guaning's expression turned serious. Many thanks for young master's advice. It's not advice. We're family now. There's no need for young master to be so polite. Song Qingshu put his arm around Lu Guaning's shoulder and said warmly, Family. Lu Guaning muttered to himself, his heart filled with bitterness. If young master has any difficulties in the future, please don't hesitate to ask. As long as it's within Song Mao's ability, I won't even frown. Song Qingshu said as he patted Lu Guaning's shoulder to show their closeness. Lu Guaning's heart warmed. Even though he felt a little uncomfortable imagining his wife under Song Mao's body, Song Mao's enthusiasm made him feel much better. At least, it was 1,000 times better than that damn Tang Kuobian. That person would leave after he was done, and Song Qingshu would at least fulfill his obligations. I do have a problem here. Lu Guaning stuttered. He was also hesitating whether to wait for a few days to make it seem less like a business deal, or to strike now while the iron was hot. Song Qingshu smiled and said, There's no need to differentiate between you and me. Young master, just tell me, there's not much I can't do in this world. Infected by his enthusiasm, Lu Guaning blurted out impulsively, Actually, I want to save Han Kuzhou, Master Han. He briefly explained the situation, then stared nervously at Song Mao's reaction, afraid that he would refuse. This, Song Qingshu immediately frowned. Is it very difficult? Lu Guaning asked anxiously. It is indeed a little difficult. Song Qingshu's words made Lu Guaning's heart sink, but what he said next made him wild with joy. If it was anyone else who asked me for help, I would definitely refuse without thinking. But with Brother Lu's current relationship, since Brother Lu has asked, I will do it no matter how difficult it is. Young master agreed? Lu Guaning said in surprise. Song Qingshu nodded. Brother Lu, there's no need to be so distant in the future. You could just call me Qingshu or Brother Song. Brother Song. Lu Guaning knew his place and did not dare to call him by name. Brother Song was enough to make him excited for half a day. After all, the difference in their martial arts and status in the martial world was not small. Lu Guaning suddenly thought of something and said hurriedly, Right, the imperial court seems to have sent people over to help. I will think of a way to contact them first. When the time comes, we will have a higher chance of success if we work together. The imperial court? Song Qingshu quickly realized that the imperial court that Lu Guaning was referring to was the Southern Song dynasty. Thinking about it, it made sense. Han Zhangqiu's power was overwhelming. With such a big thing happening here, it was impossible for the Southern Song dynasty to ignore it. Good. Brother Lu, thank you for your hard work. Song Qingshu nodded and looked at Lu Guaning's back as he left. He seemed to be lost in thought. It was better to have people from the Southern Song dynasty. He would not have to be the vanguard. Moreover, he could take advantage of this opportunity to get in touch with the people from the Southern Song dynasty. Reporting to the Great Master, we have found traces of the Song Mountain sect in the vicinity of the Pure Jade Monastery. A subordinate of the Golden Dragon Gang ran over and reported while Song Qingshu was lost in thought. The Song Mountain sect? Song Qingshu raised his eyebrows. His expression became thoughtful. Why would the Song Mountain sect come here? Chapter 1090. Being hugged by Song Qingshu from behind and smelling his manly scent, Cheng Yaojia's cheeks could not help but blush. Thinking about this man's dissolute methods, her whole body went limp. Seeing him dote on her so much, Cheng Yaojia was happy from the bottom of her heart. But in the end, she didn't lose her reason. Thinking of her identity, she couldn't help but worriedly say, If you show your face with me, will it affect your reputation? In the past, Song Qingshu had the appearance of Tang Quobian. At that time, she was not afraid of wandering the streets with him. In any case, he was a Jin man and did not have much of a reputation. But Song Qingshu was different. In recent years, he had been in the limelight in Jianghu. In addition, he had assassinated Kangxi and defeated the Qing army. Countless Han people praised him. If it was said that he was with a married woman at this time, it would indeed damage his reputation. Thinking of this, Cheng Yaojia could not help but feel sorry for herself. She wondered why she did not meet him earlier. If she had met him in Ox Village instead of Guanying, at this time, the two of them could be together openly, of course. Cheng Yaojia quickly put aside this unrealistic fantasy. Even if time went back, with Song Qingshu's martial arts and status, she would not be able to become his wife. Becoming his lover now was actually very good. Seeing her suddenly disappointed expression, Song Qingshu could not help but laugh. Madam is worrying too much. In Jianghu, I am famous for being a lascivious person. Even if someone sees me with Madam, nothing will happen. On the contrary, it is very likely that it will affect Madam's reputation. Cheng Yaojia smiled lightly. In any case, Guanying has agreed to our relationship. What am I afraid of? That's good. Looking at the young woman in the mirror, Song Qingshu's heart was moved. He could not help but start kissing her neck and cheeks. As he kissed her, he asked softly, Madam, how long do you want to dress up? Almost done. Cheng Yaojia's breathing became erratic. She suddenly bit her lip and said in a trembling voice, If you take your hand out of my clothes, I should be able to do it faster. Song Qingshu laughed. Whenever Madam is ready, I will take it out. After about the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Cheng Yaojia finally finished dressing up. She tidied up her wrinkled clothes and could not help but grumble coquettishly. It's so wrinkled. How am I supposed to face people when I go out? Song Qingshu savored the lingering softness on his fingertips, With a gentle voice he said, "Madam, you don't need to worry. Yangzhou City is full of silk and satins. Later I'll buy 10 pieces of silk and satin to compensate you, okay?" Only then did Cheng Yaojia's anger turn into joy. Remember what you said. She enjoyed this man's gentleness. In the past, Lu Guaning never considerately accompanied her to buy clothes. Of course. Song Qingshu sighed inwardly as he looked at the excited woman in front of him. There was no sexy underwear in this world. Otherwise, it would be a great pleasure to let her wear it for him to see. He suddenly thought of something. Since there was silk in this world, was it possible to make silk stockings? Thinking of the long legs of his female friends and the stockings, Song Qingshu suddenly felt his nose become somewhat hot. After the two of them went out to the street, they casually ate breakfast at a roadside stall. Then, Song Qingshu took Cheng Yaojia to several silk and satin shops. They bought dozens of exquisite silk and satin and ordered several beautiful clothes. Song Qingshu said to Cheng Yaojia, "Madam, please stroll around here first. I still have something to do over there. I will come back to pick you up in a moment." Be careful. Cheng Yaojia was not a little girl who did not understand the general interest. She knew that he had something important to do. Song Qingshu ordered 2 of the Golden Dragon Gang's men to help Cheng Yaojia carry her things. Then, he went straight in the direction of the clear Jade Monastery. He heard from his subordinates that the Song Mountain sect's people had been seen in the vicinity. However, the Golden Dragon Gang had not been here for a long time, so it was difficult to get accurate information. Therefore, he decided to personally come and take a look. He wanted to find out who the Song Mountain sect's people were. With Song Qingshu's current cultivation level, it would be very difficult for an average person to notice him even if he deliberately hid himself on the street during the day. Therefore, it was much more convenient for him to inquire about information than the Golden Dragon Gang's people. According to the information of the Golden Dragon Gang spies, Song Qingshu quickly approached the house where the Song Mountain sect's people were hiding. After secretly investigating, he discovered that the Song Mountain sect had sent more people than he had expected. In addition to the Song Mountain sect's disciples, there were also a large number of evil path experts. Among them were some of Song Qingshu's old acquaintances, such as the twin evils of Hejian, the whiteboard evil star, the Qinghai owl, and so on. Apart from these people, there were many more people that he did not recognize. However, he could see that they were all experts. So many experts have come. What is Wu Linshan trying to do? Song Qingshu was secretly alarmed. Suddenly, he heard a sound coming from the study room. He quietly went over. "Are you sure that Wu Tianda is hiding in the clear Jade Monastery?" A dull voice sounded. Song Qingshu recognized that it was Wu Linshan's voice. "I'm sure. Someone saw Wu Tianda staying in the clear Jade Monastery about half a month ago," another person replied. This time, Song Qingshu couldn't tell who it was. However, he could roughly guess that it was the 13 tycoons of Song Mountain and Zhuo Linshan's fellow disciples. But the strange thing is that we haven't seen Wu Tianda in this period of time, another person said. Song Qingshu felt strange. Why were they looking for Wu Tianda? Could it be that they knew that Wu Tianda was Ling Hu Chong in disguise? But wouldn't it be too strange for them to muster such a large force just for Ling Hu Chong? Perhaps he is hiding in the monastery, studying the Bishias swordplay day and night. How could he have the time to show himself? Zhuo Linshan coldly snorted. Bishias swordplay? Song Qingshu was secretly startled. So, they had come for the Bishias swordplay. But why were they looking for Ling Hu Chong? Zhao Sihai, are you sure that Wu Tianda is using the Bishias swordplay? Zhuo Linshan suddenly spoke again. In the Battle of Longquan, Hung Mountain sect's old nun Ding Xian was about to be killed by junior brother Zhang and junior brother Sima. But suddenly, Wu Tianda appeared. His swordsmanship was like a ghost. We are all experienced and knowledgeable, and we can more or less recognize a few of the swordsmanship in the world. But we have never seen his swordsmanship. Presumably, only the legendary Bishias swordplay could have such power, Zhao Sihai answered. That's right. That swordsmanship was too strange. We were hit before we could even see the sword moves clearly. When we thought about it later, we felt that we were the ones who foolishly took the initiative to hit his sword. That swordsmanship was really strange. Zhang Jingqiao and Sima De chimed in from the side. From the situation you described, that Wu Tianda's swordsmanship is indeed somewhat similar to the legendary BCS swordplay, Zhuo Linshan said in a low voice. Coupled with the information I received from the Zhongless sect, the BCS swordplay is indeed in Wu Tianda's hands. Then what are we waiting for? Let's just rush in and find him. Someone else spoke up. I've been feeling a little uneasy lately. It's better to be careful, Zhuo Linshan replied. Moreover, the Pure Jade Monastery is one of the Wudong's Wudong Monastery. It's best if we don't get into conflict with them. Chapter 1091. Zhuo Linshan was silent for a while, then finally answered, Fine, we'll wait for another 3 days. If Wu Tianda doesn't come out by then, we'll just go in and kill everyone. The Wu-Tang faction won't know we did it. Good. Zhuo Linshan's words received a warm response from everyone. But before that, we have to make sure Wu Tianda is inside. Otherwise, we'll risk offending the Wu-Tang faction for nothing, Zhuo Linshan said again. How about I go in and check it out tonight? Someone volunteered. No, Zhuo Linshan immediately refused. Taoist Mahjong of the Jade Temple is very powerful, and that Wu Tianda is a master among masters. It won't be good if we alert them. We can't leave anyone alive, so we have to catch them by surprise. We can't leak any information. I'll think of another way to confirm whether Wu Tianda is inside or not. Once we're sure, we'll act immediately. Song Qingshu was shocked. Zhuo Linshan was indeed a fierce and ruthless man. His first move was so ruthless. Just listening on the side was enough to make one's hair stand on end. By the way, is there any news from the Huashan faction? Zhuo Linshan spoke again, just as Song Qingshu was about to leave. According to the scouts, the Huashan faction has left Yangzhou safely, a subordinate answered. Zhuo Linshan snorted. Ma Qifeng and Zhang Jun are too incompetent. As the prime minister of the Southern Song dynasty, they can't even destroy a mere Huashan faction. Song Qingshu's eyes widened. From Zhuo Linshan's tone, it sounded like Ma Qifeng and Zhang Jun were his subordinates. What was going on? I heard they sent Zhang Ro and the others from the loyal army. Just as they were about to succeed, two mysterious people appeared and saved the Huashan faction. Another person answered. Mysterious people? Zhuo Linshan's expression was solemn. The Jianghu is big, and there are many talented people. It seems like we have to get the Bixia swordplay as soon as possible to be qualified to compete for the world. We lied about Yu Lingshan being Yufei's orphan to fool Ma Qifeng and Zhang Jun. Will they find us after they realize it? Someone said worriedly. Don't worry, the Song Mountain sect didn't show up directly. They won't be able to find out anything about us. Besides, Zhuo Linshan's voice turned cold. So what if they find out? They can't even destroy a mere Hua Mountain sect. And they want to deal with our Song Mountain sect? Song Qingshu nodded to himself. Although Ma Qicheng and Zhang Jun were prime ministers, the Song Mountain sect was located in the Jin Kingdom. Song Qingshu had always been a subject of the Jin Kingdom. No matter how powerful they were, it would be difficult for them to influence the Song Mountain sect. Zhuo Linshan indeed didn't need to be afraid of them. Moreover, Ma Qicheng and Zhang Jun's current situation didn't look good. Everyone could see that the imperial court was only looking for them as a temporary team. Their top priority was to stabilize their positions as left and right prime ministers. After staying for a while longer and seeing that there was no valuable information, Song Qingshu left quietly. As he digested the information he had just obtained, he walked toward the street where Miss Cheng was. Suddenly, he heard a cry of alarm. It seemed to be Miss Cheng's voice. Song Qingshu's expression couldn't help but change. He moved his feet and crossed a distance of several dozen feet, just in time to see Miss Cheng fall to the ground. A 17 or 18-year-old girl was holding a dagger and slashing it toward her cheek. The girl was wearing a light green robe and had an oval face. She was beautiful and alluring, but unfortunately, her eyes were ruthless and had an unapproachable temperament. Miss Cheng cried out in alarm. Seeing that the dagger was getting closer and closer to her, she was in despair. Suddenly, Song Qingshu appeared in front of her. He stretched out his finger and flicked the dagger. The girl felt a huge force, and the dagger flew out of her hand. It fell to the ground, buzzing and trembling. The sore and numb feeling in her hand made the girl realize that she was no match for him. Without hesitation, she turned around to escape. Unfortunately, as soon as she moved, Song Qingshu's solitary yang finger sealed her acupoint. She couldn't move at all. After restraining the girl, Song Qingshu went over to help Miss Cheng up and asked, "Madam, what happened?" Miss Cheng was still panic-stricken. Only when Song Qingshu patted her hand did she manage to calm down. She then began to narrate what had happened. It turned out that after separating from Song Qingshu, Miss Cheng had strolled around. She had bought a lot of clothes. As for jewelry, she didn't lack it since she was the young madam of the Liu family. Finally, she mainly visited some rouge and powder shops. As the saying goes, a woman will make up for her lover. After being together with Song Qingshu, she seemed to have returned to the age of a young girl yearning for love. She always wanted to show him her most beautiful side. The Golden Dragon Gang's stronghold didn't have any rouge and powder. Therefore, this time, she planned to prepare some. Everything else was fine and was quickly prepared. The only thing she couldn't find was the rouge that suited her. It turned out that she was used to using rouge from Jiangnan's colon store at home. That kind of rouge was the best match for her skin color. It brought out the best in each other. Who would have thought that after asking several shops, the colon store was out of stock? With great difficulty, she finally found a shop that had the last box left. Just as she was about to pay the bill, the rouge on the table was taken by another girl. Miss Chung thought that the other girl had accidentally taken the wrong box. She hastily explained that she had already bought the rouge. Who would have thought that the girl would directly reply, "You said that this rouge is yours. Why don't you call it and see if it responds?" Miss Chung was almost angered to death. Normally, with Miss Cheng's shy temperament, she would have given in when encountering this kind of situation. However, this time, she wanted to dress up in front of Song Qingshu. After looking for so many shops, there was only one box left. Naturally, she wasn't willing to give in. In order to fight over this box of rouge, the two women quickly quarreled. After all, the girl was in the wrong. Finally, she flew into a rage out of humiliation and directly hit her. She shouted that she would scratch Miss Cheng's face so that she wouldn't need to wear rouge. The two Golden Dragon Gang subordinates that Song Qingshu had left behind saw that the situation was not right. They hastily rushed forward to help. Who would have thought that although the girl was young, her martial arts were quite brilliant? With just a few punches and kicks, the two men were lying on the ground, losing the strength to fight again. Miss Cheng had no choice but to help. As the disciple of the Chuanjin sect's seventh disciple, she could be considered to have a famous master. Unfortunately, she was shy. Before she could use her martial arts, she had already lost 30% of her martial arts. Moreover, after getting married, her martial arts had more or less been abandoned. Fortunately, her internal energy had made some progress. Otherwise, her current martial arts might not be as good as when she was a girl. However, this girl's martial arts had obviously been taught by a famous master. In addition, her attacks were much more ruthless. Miss Cheng quickly fell into a passive position. When Song Qingshu arrived, it was just when she was about to be knocked down. "You are so young, yet you are so ruthless. Today, I will properly discipline you on behalf of your elders." After listening to the whole story, Song Qingshu suddenly looked at the girl with an unkind expression. "Stinking brat, you have such a big tone. It is not up to outsiders to discipline my granddaughter." At this moment, a cold snort came from not far away. Hearing that person's voice, the girl suddenly revealed a look of ecstasy. Grandpa, come quickly. Someone is bullying me." Chapter 1092. Now you know fear. Who told you to cause trouble behind my back all day? Just as he finished speaking, another person appeared on the street. Miss Chung raised her head and saw a man with white hair and a smiling face. He was an old man with a kind face. However, when her eyes met his, she couldn't help but shiver. There was an indescribable fierceness in this man's eyes. As soon as she saw him, she felt a chill run down her spine. It was as if the chill had seeped into her bones. Sensing her fear, Song Qing-shu gently patted her shoulder. Cheng Yaojia felt a mellow and warm internal force enter her body. Only then did she slowly calm down. Stinky brat, are you the one who spoke arrogantly and wanted to teach my precious granddaughter a lesson? The old man walked over and stood in front of the young girl. He looked at Song Qing-shu with an unfriendly expression. Song Qing-shu indifferently replied, "This girl wants to ruin someone's appearance without saying a word. She's too vicious at such a young age. If we don't discipline her as soon as possible, in the future she will certainly." Before he could finish speaking, the old man impatiently waved his hand and said, "I hate hearing these sanctimonious preaching words the most. In Jianghu, the weak are prey to the strong. If others can't beat her, it's because they don't have enough skill. If she doesn't have enough skill and can't beat others, she only has herself to blame. What else is there to say?" Song Qing-shu nodded and said, "What you said is not without reason. Brat, you're quite sensible." Seeing that he agreed with what he said, the old man beamed with joy. However, his expression quickly changed. "However, you bullied my granddaughter. We have to settle this matter. Your granddaughter injured my men and almost injured my companion. How should we settle this account?" Song Qing-shu helped the other two Golden Dragon Gang members up. Although they appeared to be seriously injured, they were actually only dislocated muscles and bones. After recuperating for a while, they would be able to recover. Song Qing-shu's complexion improved a bit. "Humph! Can these people be compared to my precious granddaughter? Stinky brat, do you know who I am?" The old man fiddled with a cigarette pipe and took a deep breath. "Old man of heavenly secrets?" Song Qing-shu frowned and probed. He had a pipe in his hand, a granddaughter, and he spoke with such confidence. All these characteristics were very similar to the Elder of Heavenly Secrets, who was ranked first in the weapons manual of Little Flying Dagger. Cough, cough, the old man almost choked on his breath. "What bullsh asterisk T, Elder Tianji? My surname is Ding, and my name is Taboo. I have a nickname in Jianghu called Not 3 in a Day. Fisk, so it's Ding Bu-san. I thought it was the Elder of Heavenly Secrets." Song Qing-shu couldn't help but be surprised. No wonder he didn't recognize it first. Among Jean Yong's novels, Journey of the Gallant was a relatively unpopular one. He was not as familiar with the characters as he was with works like the Condor Trilogy or Demigods and Semi-Devils. Ding Busan's nickname, Not 3 in a Day, was because he had killed too many people in his early years. Later, he turned over a new leaf and set a rule that he could not kill more than 3 people in a day. That girl was his granddaughter, so naturally she was Dingda. In Journey of the Gallant, Dingda fulfilled all the characteristics of the main heroine of a golden book. She was beautiful, seductive, and threw herself at the protagonist. In some ways, she was similar to Huang Rong. Unfortunately, unlike Huang Rong, she did something extremely vicious and challenged the bottom line of all the readers. She had killed Shi Potion's personal maid, Shi Jian, and made it look like she had been raped and killed. She was so vicious. In addition, she loved Shi Zhongyu, and Shi Patian was just a substitute. So in the end, she became the second female lead and one of the most hated main female characters in the readers' hearts in Qin Shang's previous life. No wonder she ruined the girl's appearance without saying a word. This Dingda is really vicious. Song Qing-shu looked at the girl not far away. Although she was beautiful, he did not like her at all. Seeing Song Qing-shu's reaction, it was Ding Busan's turn to be stunned. He was highly skilled in martial arts and could kill without blinking an eye. People in Jianghu were often frightened by his reputation and kept a respectful distance from him. They were unwilling to have any dealings with him, but he insisted that people be intimate with him. As long as they showed any fear or disgust, he would kill them. But all these years, he had never encountered such a situation. "Grandpa, why are you talking nonsense with him? Unseal my acupoints first." Seeing that she had been forgotten, the girl was so anxious that she kept stomping her feet. Unfortunately, her acupoints were sealed, so she could not stomp even if she wanted to. "Stupid girl, last time you stole my Dark Eyes Fire wine and gave it to your lover. I haven't settled the score with you yet. How dare you throw a tantrum at me now?" Although Ding Busan said that, he still walked to Dingda and reached out to unseal his granddaughter's acupoints. Ding Busan casually tapped a few times and found that his granddaughter was still staring at him blankly. There was no sign of her acupoints being unsealed. He could not help but feel embarrassed. He quickly corrected his attitude and used all his strength to unseal her acupoints. However, after trying several times, his strength was like a stone sinking into the sea. Her acupoints were still not unsealed. Dingda immediately became angry and said, "Can you do it? You always boast about how good your martial arts are, but you can't even unseal a young man's acupoints." Qing Yaojia had also heard of Ding Busan's name. She knew that he was a famous devil on the evil path. She saw his arrogant and insufferably arrogant appearance as soon as he appeared. Who would have thought that he couldn't even open his acupoints? This kind of strong contrast made her unable to restrain herself from laughing out loud. Song Qing-shu also smiled slightly. The Duan clan of Dali's single yang finger was famous throughout the world. In terms of power, it might not be the strongest finger technique in the world, but in terms of acupoint sealing effect, it was second to none. With Song Qing-shu's current strength, it would be strange if Ding Busan could unseal her acupoints. Being ridiculed by his granddaughter and ridiculed by a beautiful young woman, Ding Busan immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He said, "I'm not the best in the world. What's so strange about not being able to unseal your acupoints? This brat's acupoint sealing technique is a bit strange. Wait until I capture him and let him personally unseal your acupoints." As soon as he finished speaking, he pounced on Song Qing-shu and said, "Brat, have a taste of your grandpa's power." Song Qing-shu stood where he was with a faint smile and did not move at all. Seeing that the distance between them was less than 3 feet, Ding Busan opened his mouth and a cloud of smoke shot towards Song Qing-shu's eyes like a sharp arrow. The people around immediately exclaimed. Those with good eyesight could already see that it was the smoke that Ding Busan had just inhaled. He had used his profound internal strength to wrap it and shoot it toward the enemy. If he was hit, he would probably lose his eyes. This old devil was really vicious. However, to everyone's surprise, the young man didn't dodge. Instead, he allowed the smoke arrow to shoot toward him. He suddenly opened his mouth and exhaled, causing the smoke arrow to shoot back toward Ding Busan at an even faster speed. Yesterday, the official account mentioned various cases of men sacrificing their wives for glory. Looking back at Liu Guaniying's behavior, do you think it is not so exaggerated? Chapter 1093. Ding Busan had been famous in Jianghu for many years and was a famous expert of the evil path. Naturally, he had rich fighting experience. He saw that his opponent's acupoint sealing technique was strange and was worried that he had some exquisite moves, so he attacked with his internal energy. In Ding Busan's view, this young man was very young. Even if his moves were strange, his internal energy could not be faked. He had used decades of internal energy to break his opponent's technique and catch him off guard. Who would have thought that his opponent would blow back his internal energy with one breath? His internal energy was obviously far above his own. Fortunately, Ding Busan was very experienced and held back every time he attacked. He twisted his waist in midair and dodged the smoke arrow. With a flick of his wrist, the pipe in his hand shot toward a major acupoint on Song Qing-shu's chest at a very strange angle. Song Qing-shu thought nothing of it. Although the opponent's move was ruthless and cunning, it was not a problem for him. He stretched out his hand, intending to flick the opponent's pipe away, just like Ding Ao's dagger. Who would have thought that after the pipe was hit, a lot of sparks suddenly appeared in front of him? Ding Busan seemed to have expected this. Taking advantage of the sparks blocking his opponent's line of sight, he grabbed Qing Yaojia and brought her back to Ding Da's side. Ding Busan had rich combat experience. When he realized that his opponent's martial arts were above his own, he immediately made a decision. Attacking Song Qing-shu with great momentum was just a smokescreen. His real goal was to capture Qing Yaojia, who was next to him, as a hostage. Song Qing-shu could not help but sigh that he had been too careless. As his martial arts became higher and higher, He had underestimated the world's heroes. Just as he was about to step forward to save Cheng Yaojia, Ding shouted, "Don't come over, or I'll break her neck." As he spoke, he placed his hand on Cheng Yaojia's neck. The Ding family's grappling technique really lives up to its reputation. Song Qing-shu secretly admired him. Even though he had been tricked a moment ago, to be able to take Cheng Yaojia away from his hands in a split second was not something an ordinary martial art master could do. It was only because his grappling technique was too exquisite that he was able to capture Cheng Yaojia like floating clouds and flowing water. My black demon palm, is also famous in Jianghu. If I press it on this girl's back, no matter how high your martial arts are, you won't be able to save her, Ding Bu-san said complacently. Seeing Ding Bu-san strangling Cheng Yaojia with one hand and pressing down on her back with the other, Song Qing-shu frowned and immediately became silent. Stinking brat, hurry up and release my granddaughter's acupoints. Otherwise, I won't be polite anymore. Ding Bu-san was also extremely fearful of his opponent's martial arts. He knew that he had only used a trick just now. If they were to fight again, he would definitely not be his opponent. Sure. To Ding Bu-san's surprise, Song Qing-shu did not bargain with him. Instead, he agreed and smiled at him, revealing his snow-white teeth. However, Ding Bu-san's many years of experience in Jianghu made him subconsciously feel that something was wrong. But he could not tell what was wrong. Just as he was about to add some conditions to his opponent, his eyes suddenly widened. This was because Song Qing-shu had disappeared into thin air. Ding Bu-san subconsciously blinked his eyes, thinking that his eyes were playing tricks on him. After all, he had been on guard against his opponent and did not even see his clothes move. How could he disappear? His instincts as a master made a chill run up his spine. Just as he was about to leave, his body suddenly stiffened because his acupoints had been sealed. Although your grappling technique is not bad, my Qing Gong is not bad either. Song Qing-shu walked out from behind Ding Bu-san and pulled Cheng Yaojia into his arms. Madam, how do you think I should deal with these two people? Cheng Yaojia was still in shock and was about to answer when she heard Ding Bu-san shout, "Lao Si, we are being bullied here. Are you still watching from the side?" A burst of heroic laughter was heard. Who said I was watching? I just wanted to see if your martial arts have improved recently. Then, an ugly but honest-looking old man jumped down from the restaurant next to him. Song Qing-shu carefully looked at him and thought that this must be Ding Bu-san's younger brother, Ding Bu-si. Of these two brothers, one was kind but sinister and vicious, and the other was ugly and ferocious but simple and honest. They were really a pair of weirdos. Ding Bu-san's face heated up. Ever since they were young, the two brothers had always been competitive. They had fought for decades over whose martial arts were better. Now that his brother had seen him get caught, he felt ashamed. But he did not want to admit defeat to his brother, so he shouted, "You're only messing up my mind. If I'm distracted, I'll be ambushed. It's really unlucky." Ding Bu-si laughed and said, "Then I will leave immediately. You can focus on fighting." He turned his head to Ding Bu and said, "Your grandfather always says that his martial arts are great and invincible, but he seems to be better than your fourth grandfather. Now open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Watch your grandfather, with only a pair of bare hands, beat people until they withdraw their swords, admit defeat, kneel on the ground, and beg for mercy." Ha 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 ha. The laughter was strange, and many of the onlookers felt their eardrums ringing. They all felt very uncomfortable. Song Qing-shu was amused and did not rush to make a move. He wanted to see what the brothers could do. Ding Bu-san was furious. "Lao Si, what are you laughing at?" Ding Bu-si laughed. "I am laughing at you," Ding Bu-san angrily said. "What are you laughing at? What's so funny about me?" Ding Bu-si said, "I am laughing at you for being so competitive all your life. When you are in danger, you always need your brother to help you." Ding Bu-si angrily said, "This pretty boy is my junior. If I did not respect my status, I would have killed him long ago. What danger do I have? Who asked you to carry it? You'd better go and carry a wine pot or a urinal." Grandpa, seeing how the two of them were bickering, Ding Ao rolled her eyes. She was so anxious that she almost went crazy. Only then did Ding Bu-san remember the situation he was in. His expression turned ugly, and he could only snort. All right, cut the crap. Even I can't beat this brat. You're no match for him either. Go back and find Brother Dian. Ding Busi was originally smiling, but when he heard this, he immediately became angry. What do you mean I can't beat him just because you can't? I will show you whose martial arts are better. After saying this, he howled and pounced on Song Qing-shu, causing Song Qing-shu to be speechless. In less than the time it took to drink half a cup of tea, Ding Bu-san's screams came to an abrupt end. Seeing that Ding Bu-si's acupoint had also been sealed, Ding Bu-san was immediately overjoyed. Tisk, TSK, TSK, at least I managed to snatch someone from his hands. How many moves did you last? Haha, now it goes without saying which one of us is more skilled in martial arts. Although the situation was not good, Ding Bu-si was used to bickering with his brothers and could not help but gloat. Bullsh asterisk T, Bullsh asterisk T. Ding Bu-si's face turned red. He glared at Song Qing-shu and said, Brat, I was careless just now. If you have the ability, unseal my acupoints and fight again. I still have a lot of brilliant martial arts that I have not used. Fourth grandfather, Ding Bu almost fainted. He wondered what he had done in his previous life to have these two funny grandfathers. Chapter 1094. Before Ding Bu-san could reply, an anxious shout came from not far away, Have mercy! Song Qing-shu looked up and saw Lu Guining anxiously running toward him. Because he was injured, he coughed as he ran, and even after running for half a day, he hadn't run very far. The people beside him couldn't wait any longer. Two people grabbed one of his arms and leaped over to Ding Bu-san's side. Fourth uncle, are you all right? A scholarly man in his 30s looked at Ding Bu-san and Ding Dian with concern. Nonsense, do we look fine? Ding Bu-san couldn't help but curse. Hurry up and unseal our acupoints. It's your nephew's fault. The scholarly man looked embarrassed. He examined the two's bodies and suddenly had a strange expression. I can't unseal your acupoints. You can't even unseal them with your martial arts. Ding Dian heaved a sigh of relief when he saw him, but when he heard that he couldn't unseal the acupoints, he was stunned. You were hit by the solitary yang finger. The Dali Duan family's acupoint sealing technique is unparalleled in the world. I really can't help you. The scholarly man turned to Song Qing-shu. May I ask which young master of the Dali Duan family are you? He suddenly felt a little confused. The person in front of him seemed somewhat familiar. Song Qing-shu looked at him excitedly. Big brother Ding, is it really you? The man in front of him had sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He had a scholarly air about him, but there was also a faint sense of righteousness, forming a unique temperament. Who else could it be but Ding Dian? Ding Dian stared blankly for a moment before carefully sizing up Song Qing-shu. Pleasantly surprised, he too said, Brother Song? When he first met Song Qing-shu, it was when Song Qing-shu was at his lowest. Now, Song Qing-shu was full of vigor and elegance. His brilliance was restrained, and he had the bearing of a master. He couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as when he was in dire straits. So Ding Dian actually didn't recognize him in the beginning. Song Qing-shu went up and gave him a bear hug. After all, if he hadn't learned the divine, illuminating sutra from Ding Dian, he wouldn't be where he was today. Brother Song, I've heard a lot about you in recent years. Your achievements really put me to shame. Ding Dian was also very excited. After all, the two of them had gone through thick and thin together, and the other had even saved his life. More importantly, if not for Song Qing-shu, how could he and Ling Shuanghua have come together? It's all thanks to Brother Ding's Holy Light Sutra, Song Qing-shu said modestly and looked to his side. Why don't I see sister-in-law? She is nurturing her pregnancy at home. Speaking of his wife, Ding Dian couldn't hide the joy on his face. Sister-in-law is pregnant? Congratulations. Song Qing-shu was pleasantly surprised. Ling Shuang's Chinese character was as light as a chrysanthemum, and her loyalty to love made him admire her very much. Thus, he was sincerely happy. So it's Uncle's friend. Our lives are safe now. Seeing the two of them being intimate, The happiest person was none other than Dingda. Her heart had already sunk to the bottom when she saw her grandfather and fourth grandfather, whom she had always revered as celestial beings, being defeated by Song Qing-shu. Now that there was light at the end of the tunnel, how could she not be excited? Hearing her words, Song Qing-shu looked at Ding Dian. "Brother Ding, do you know these people?" Ding Dian smiled bitterly. "These two are my uncles, and this is my niece. I don't know how they offended you, but I apologize on their behalf. Since they are your relatives, it's just a misunderstanding." Song Qing-shu raised his hand, and the acupoints of the three people were immediately unsealed. Ding Dian's eyes lit up. "Brother Song's martial arts are really amazing." Song Qing-shu smiled. "Brother Ding has mastered the Holy Light Sutra, and with the amazing Shadowless Fist, how can you be worse than me?" The two of them humbled each other. Ding Jian pulled Dingda over and asked, "Did you get into trouble again?" Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si were his elders, so he couldn't reprimand them. He could only pull Dingda over and ask her. Ding Ran smiled sweetly. "I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I offended Uncle's brother's wife. I hereby apologize to the two of you. I hope that the two of you will forgive this lowly one's wrongdoings and not bother with an ignorant little girl like me." She had been raised by Ding Bu San and had completely inherited her grandfather's viciousness. However, as a demoness, her most important skill was to read people's expressions and act according to the wind. Song Qing-shu's martial arts were so much better than hers. If she didn't understand the situation, it could only be said that there was something wrong with her IQ. However, her apology made Chung Yaojia blush. She quickly waved her hand and said, It's okay. And I'm not young master's wife." Although her relationship with Lu Guaning only existed in name, she still had to put on an act in front of outsiders. Lu Guaning finally found an opportunity. He stepped forward and said, "This is really a flood against the temple of the Dragon King. We are all family. Let's go to the restaurant next door and talk about it in detail." Song Qing-shu nodded. Because of the dispute just now, there were more and more onlookers. He also didn't want to continue being watched like a monkey. On the way to the restaurant, Song Qing-shu casually glanced at the other two people traveling with Ding Dian. One was a middle-aged scholar with a wisp of goatee. His eyes shone brightly, and he was obviously a wise and resourceful person. The other was like an old farmer in the fields. He had a face full of vicissitudes, but his eyes were full of compassion for the state of the universe. The reason why they attracted Song Qing-shu's attention was that these two people were very strong. They were so strong that Song Qing-shu had to pay attention to them. The middle-aged scholar had a gloomy temperament, so the martial arts he learned should be of the feminine side. Although the old farmer looked like an ordinary person, Song Qing-shu himself practiced swordsmanship and was very sensitive to sword chi. The old farmer faintly exuded a heroic sword chi. Song Qing-shu's first reaction when he saw him was to think of a powerful army. Where did this master come from? Why can't he guess the origin of these two people? Song Qing-shu was secretly shocked. They went to a private room in a nearby restaurant. It was obvious that they had been talking about something before. Lu Guaning invited them to sit down one by one. Then he said, "Let me introduce you. This is the Golden Snake King, Prince Song Qing-shu. This time he is willing to help save Master Han." Those people were all trying to guess Song Qing-shu's identity. At this moment, they were all shocked. "So, it's the Golden Snake King. It's an honor to meet you." For the past 2 years, he had been the most famous person in the world. He had challenged all the experts in the world with his martial arts and defeated the powerful Qing army on the battlefield. Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si looked at each other and couldn't help smiling bitterly. They felt that it wasn't an injustice for them to be defeated by Song Qing-shu. After all, there were many experts who were more famous than them who had been defeated by Song Qing-shu. The famous Golden Snake King is actually so young. He really is a young hero. The middle-aged scholar had a strange look on his face and sighed. "Prince Song, when you have time, you have to tell us how you defeated the Qing army of 100,000 with just a few thousand people." The old farmer looked even more excited. It was obvious that he was very emotional. Song Qing-shu was speechless. So he was a warmonger. Chapter 1095. Ding Dian, Lord Ding, you must know each other. He is now the Imperial Guard in the Imperial City, a top master guarding the Emperor. Imperial Guard? Song Qingshu was secretly shocked. How could he not know that the Emperor of the Southern Song dynasty had the most elite guards? Every emperor only had a maximum of 6 people with the Emperor's imperial armament, and sometimes only 2. Therefore, each of the Emperor's imperial armament was not only an expert among experts, but also someone the Emperor trusted the most. I don't know what kind of family background Brother Ding has to be chosen to be the Imperial Guard. Song Qingshu was curious. Ding Dian's kung fu was more than enough to be the Imperial Guard, but if his background was not absolutely reliable, the Emperor would not have appointed him. Lu Guanyin continued to introduce. This is Lord Su Shurdan, a military counselor under Lord Han. He was left in Lin and by Lord Han to guard the rear, but when he heard that something happened to Lord Han, he organized a rescue force to go north. Su Shurdan, the chief think tank of Han Xingzhou. Song Qingshu was secretly shocked. This person was only an advisor, but his name appeared in the intelligence of the Jin and Qin kingdoms, which showed how important he was in Han Xingzhou's group. This is Xian Qiji, Lord Xen, who was the secretary of the Privy Council. Lu Guanyin pointed to the old farmer and introduced him. Xian Qiji. Song Qingshu suddenly jumped up excitedly, ran over to hold his hand and said, Lord Xen, I am your fan. Xian Qiji was confused, and even the others were puzzled. It should be known that Xian Qiji's status was probably the lowest among the people present. When the others were introduced, Song Qingshu just responded very politely, and his attitude was a little cold. But when he was introduced, Song Qingshu suddenly became so enthusiastic. It was no wonder that they could not understand, because Xian Qiji was an idol that Song Qingshu admired very much in his previous life. His attainments in poetry were on par with Su Dongpa, and in martial arts, he could lead dozens of people to attack the camp of the Jin and capture the traitor and take him back to the Southern Song dynasty. When drunk, he watched the sword by the lamp, and when dreaming, he blew the horn to the camp. The horse moved as fast as lightning, and the bowstring shook like thunder. Every time he read about Xian Qiji's deeds, Song Qingshu couldn't help but slap the table and stand up. When he saw the pitiful Bai Fashing, he deeply understood the helplessness of not being put in an important position. After all, he had joined the Southern Song dynasty for most of the time. The Southern Song dynasty's emperor and ministers were on the side of peace and surrender. It was not easy to wait for the pro-war Han Xingzhou to come to power, but he was already old and seriously ill. Not long after, he passed away. Thinking of the fate in history, Song Qingshu hurriedly sized him up. Although the other party was old, he was hale and hearty, and had an astonishing cultivation base. He did not look like he had 1 foot in the grave. However, Song Qingshu understood that Li Bai in the Golden Book system was also a supermaster. One was the most famous poet in the Tang dynasty, and the other was the most famous lyricist in the Southern Song dynasty. Moreover, Xian Qiji himself was a powerful person who could challenge the Golden Army at night. He was a top master in this world. Song Qingshu was not surprised at all. Under everyone's strange eyes, Song Qingshu finally calmed down and continued to talk with the people of the Southern Song dynasty. Through the conversation, he learned that they were not the official reinforcements sent by the Southern Song dynasty. Instead, they were masters under the command of the Han's group that Su Shurdan had temporarily gathered. This was because he wanted to hide it from the court. After all, Han Xingzhou's capture was not a glorious thing. If it was spread out, it would easily damage his prestige, and he would be easily attacked by his political enemies. Therefore, this time there were not many people who came, but all of them were top masters who could be trusted. No wonder Lu Guanyin has been begging me to help him. It turns out that they're not strong enough. Song Qingshu quietly glanced at Ding Da again. He thought that Ding Busan and Ding Busi could barely be called masters, but this one was not a top master. When Song Qingshu looked at her, Ding Da's eyes also moved between him and Cheng Yaojia. From the conversation just now, she knew that Cheng Yaojia was Lu Guanying's wife. However, She clearly saw that she was intimate with Song Qing-shu. No one knew what she was thinking, but the corners of her mouth faintly curved into a playful smile. According to Guaniying's description, there are many masters in the Ruyang mansion. I'm afraid that we are weak. Su Shidan was the leader of this group. As he spoke, he glanced at Song Qing-shu and said, I wonder if Golden Snake King has any wise ideas? I dare not say so. Song Qing-shu knew that the other party wanted him to help, but he did not want the people of the Golden Snake Camp to have a head-on conflict with the Mongols. But not long ago, I thought of a way. He had originally planned to save Han Xingzhou. Now that there were Ding Jian and his former idol Xian Qiji in this group, he naturally had to help them. Oh, what is it? The people of the Southern Song dynasty were overjoyed. Drive the wolf to swallow the tiger. Song Qing-shu smiled mysteriously. Who's the wolf? Su Shidan's eyes lit up. The Song Mountain sect. Song Qing-shu roughly told them the information he had received. At the same time, he also told them the doubts in his heart. He did not know why the people of the Song Mountain sect appeared here so coincidentally. I may know the reason. Su Shidan's face was a little gloomy. I'm afraid this is Jia Shidao's plan to get someone else to do his dirty work. According to our information, the Chang'e gang is probably related to Jia Shidao. The news of the Bixie sword manual should have come from there. No wonder Jia Shidao didn't make a fuss about it when Minister Han was captured. It turns out that he planned to make Minister Han never return to the imperial court. Through all kinds of clues, he was able to restore the whole thing almost to the truth. He was indeed worthy of being the #1 think tank under Han Xingzhou. I see. After hearing his explanation, Song Qing-shu was suddenly enlightened. By the way, according to the information I received, the Song Mountain sect is going to find out if Wu Tianda is in the Jade Pure Temple. If they accidentally find out that the Mongolians have secretly taken over the Jade Pure Temple, I'm afraid they will give up their plan. So without hesitation, let's do it tonight. Everyone looked serious. They didn't expect to act in such a hurry. However, after thinking about it carefully, they knew it was the best choice. Su Shidan nodded, stood up, and said seriously, As you said, if we can successfully rescue Minister Han this time, we will definitely repay you later. Song Qing-shu smiled slightly. I want to help this time mainly because young Heights Lord Liu is my friend. Su Shidan looked at Liu Guaniying and smiled knowingly. Minister Han will not forget the Liu family's role in this time. Liu Guaniying was so moved that he was about to cry. Song Qing-shu was really a kind person. Originally, when he saw his beautiful wife acting so intimately with Song Qing-shu, he couldn't help but feel a little unhappy. But now, all his dissatisfaction disappeared, and all that was left was gratitude. That night, in the house where the Song Mountain sect was. Chapter 1096. Look carefully, it's him. That beard, I can't be wrong. A disciple of the Song Mountain sect answered with certainty. Didn't Wu Tianda not come out before? Why'd he go in from the outside? The pagoda-bearing hand, Ding Mian, was puzzled. As Zhuo Jr., he had always been cautious and meticulous. After confirming Wu Tianda's whereabouts, Zhuo face was full of excitement. Hearing his junior's doubts, he said disapprovingly, Wu Tianda has learned the Bixie swordplay manual. His lightness kung fu must be extremely profound. The disciples we sent outside the monastery may not be able to detect him coming out. In any case, we have confirmed that he is inside the monastery. Pass down my order. Prepare for a surprise attack at the second watch. Ding Mian said with a worried expression. Why don't we wait for the next time Wu Tianda comes out and then surround him? After all, the Clear Jade Monastery has Mount Wudong behind it. According to the disciples' report, Wu Tianda's figure is like a ghost. If we were outside, it would not be so easy for us to set up an ambush. Now that he is resting in the Clear Jade Monastery and unguarded, this is the best opportunity. Seeing that his juniors still wanted to say more, Zhuo waved his hand and said, I heard that Li Kashio has always been on good terms with the people of the Clear Jade Monastery. If we drag this out for too long and Li Kashio realizes it, then it will be troublesome. so we must finish this quickly. Once we capture Wu Tianda, we will leave Yangzhou overnight. Ding Mian also knew that the longer they stayed in Yangzhou, the more dangerous it would be. He could only agree to the other's plan and go out to make arrangements for the operation. In a residence near the clear Jade Monastery, Lu Guaning looked at Song Qingshu with a face full of amazement. Young master's disguise technique is really superb. You actually impersonated General Wu Tianda so well. Song Qingshu replied indifferently. I just stuck a beard on and found a set of Wu Tianda's clothes. It was dark at the time, so it is expected that the Song Mountain sect would mistake him. He did not want his disguise technique to be exposed, so he casually said a few words. As expected, the others did not suspect anything. Only Miss Chung knew of his ability and looked at him meaningfully. On the other side, Ding Rant's lips gradually curled into a smile. Humph, ever since we entered the house, that Madame Lu hasn't even glanced at my husband. Her gentle gaze has always been on Song Qingshu. If the two of them didn't have something going on, I would have written the character Ding upside down. However, she was a demonist to begin with, so she didn't have any prejudice towards this kind of thing. She just felt that it was fun, and at the same time, she was wondering if she could gain some benefits from it. While Ding Ku was deep in thought, Su Shidan spoke. Young master, why are you so sure that the Mount Song sect will attack tonight? Song Qingshu smiled and said, didn't Mr. Su speculate that the Song Mountain faction came for the Bishia swordbook? And this Wu Tianda's swordsmanship is amazing, so the Song Mountain faction thinks that the swordbook is in his hands. I see. Su Shidan and the others nodded. Legend has it that Lin Yuan-tu was invincible in the Southern Heaven region with his 72 evil-warding sword arts. I'm going to witness it tonight. Xian Shiji was excited, and his body was surrounded by a faint sword qi. Ding Dian said in a deep voice, Jia Xian might be disappointed. The Bishia swordbook may not be in Wu Tianda's hands. Su Shidan agreed and said, that's right. A while ago, heroes from all over gathered in Fuzhou for the Bishia swordbook. I also paid attention to this matter. According to my intelligence, all the powers came up empty-handed. So either the Bishia swordbook doesn't exist, or someone else got it before us. Judging from Wu Tianda's schedule, the possibility of him being the one who got it is very low. Ding Busan laughed and said, the Bishia swordbook is definitely there. My master saw Lin Yuan fight with his own eyes, but I don't know who got it in the end. Your master has seen it? Everyone asked. Ding Busan proudly picked up his tobacco pipe and blew on the Bishia swordbook. Everyone was amazed and began to guess the whereabouts of the Bishia swordbook. Lu Guining nervously looked at Song Qingshu and saw that he had a faint smile on his face. He did not participate in the discussion and did not open his mouth. Lu Guining immediately relaxed. How could he be willing to share a divine manual like the Bishia swordplay with others? The people of the Song Mountain sect are here, Song Qingshu suddenly said. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they all ran to the window to look out. They saw a group of warriors dressed in black, like ants, climbing over the walls of the clear Jade Monastery. Very quickly, muffled groans and screams could be heard. The Song Mountain sect is really powerful. No wonder they can suppress the other 4 sects of the 5 mountain sword sects. Su Shidan couldn't help but exclaim after watching for a while. Let's wait until they are almost done with the Mongolians and then go in to clean up the mess. Song Qingshu's plan was approved by everyone, and no one had any objections. Ding Busan and Ding Dian killed people without batting an eye. They wanted as many people as possible to die in the monastery. Su Shidan, as Han Xingzhou's trusted advisor, was naturally not a good person. Ding Dian and Xian Shiji were honest people, but in recent years, the Song Mountain sect had made friends with masters from the evil sects and stirred up trouble in Jianghu. They deserved this retribution. The Jade Pure Monastery was located in a remote area. Both the Song Mountain sect and the Mongolians had a guilty conscience, so they deliberately suppressed their voices. So even though the fight was in full swing, it didn't alarm the residents of Yangzhou. After about an hour, the noise in the Jade Pure Monastery gradually died down. Song Qingshu said, Let's go and take a look. Because of the fighting, there were no Mongolian guards outside the Jade Pure Monastery. The people of the Song Mountain sect who stayed outside were also hurriedly called in because of the fighting inside. Song Qing-shu and the others quietly entered the Jade Pure Monastery and found people lying on the ground in the front yard. There were people from the Song Mountain sect and foreign monks from the Ryong Palace. It was obvious how fierce the fight was. The sound of fighting came faintly from the backyard. Song Qing-shu called the others to follow. Listen to my orders later. Attack when I tell you to. Whether it was the Ryong Palace or the Song Mountain sect, there was no lack of masters. Only when they were almost exhausted could they minimize their losses. The group hid behind the courtyard wall and quietly looked in the backyard. There were not many people in the backyard. Almost everyone was fighting in pairs. Song Qing-shu looked carefully. Zhuo Lingshan and Priest Baisheng were fighting. The double evils of Hejian were fighting against the two elders of Xianming, the evil star of Whiteboard, the owl of Qinghai, and Zhuo Lingshan's junior brothers were fighting against the foreign monks under Wang Baobao. Both Taoist, Priest 100 Damages, and Zhuo Lingshan were masters of cold in martial arts. Taoist Priest 100 Damages, Xianming Divine Palm, and Zhuo Lingshan's cold True Qi were evenly matched. The two of them fought back and forth and were actually on par. Song Qing-shu felt strange. He had fought with both of them before. Although Zhuo Lingshan was a top master in Jianghu, there should be a certain gap between him and Priest Baisheng. How could the two be evenly matched? He looked carefully and finally figured out the reason. It turned out that Priest Baisheng was injured. Perhaps it was because the Song Mountain sect had the advantage in numbers. Although the people from the Ryong Palace were all top masters, they had to pay a price for fighting alone against so many. Song Qing-shu noticed that many of the Song Mountain sect's corpses outside were killed by arrows. They should have died in the hands of the 8 heroes of the Divine Arrow. He had seen the ability of the 8 heroes of the Divine Arrow. Each of them was a master archer. They could shoot arrows in rapid succession. Just 8 of them could make it look like 10,000 arrows were shot at once. Bows and arrows are indeed the most effective weapon in a group battle. Song Qing-shu sighed inwardly, but soon his eyes focused. He found the corpses of the 8 heroes of the Divine Arrow not far away. It seemed that the Song Mountain sect had paid a great price to kill these people. The Xianming elders and the Hejian double killers were also a pair. The Xianming elders were good at Xianming Holy Palm, and the Hejian double killers were not afraid of the one fingers in. The Xianming elders were good at joint attacks, and the Hejian double killers had been martial brothers for decades. They had long understood each other and had a set of joint attacks. The Xianming elders' weapons were the crane's beak pen and the deer's head staff, while the Hejian double killers' weapons were the acupoint staff and the judge's pen. The 4 of them fought like a horse lantern, dazzling the eyes. Song Qing-shu knew that these people would not be able to determine the winner without fighting for hundreds of rounds. So he turned his attention to the other side. The Whiteboard Evil Star, the Azure Sea Owl, and Zhuo Lingshan's junior brother besieged the rest of the foreign monks. Obviously, they had the upper hand, but the foreign monks relied on each other to keep the Song Mountain sect occupied. Song Qing-shu had fought with these foreign monks with the appearance of Tang Kuobian. He knew that they had a special method of combining their internal energy. No wonder the Song Mountain sect couldn't win even though they had the upper hand. Where's the headmaster of the Jin Gang faction? Song Qing-shu thought of another supermaster from the Ryong Palace. He glanced around for a while and finally found his trace. He saw that his opponent was a wooden-looking young man. Sherpatian? Song Qing-shu had seen him last time at the Golden Snake Gathering. He recognized the young man at a glance. During the Golden Snake Gathering, Sherpotion's internal energy was profound, but his moves and fighting experience were extremely lacking. After not seeing him for a while, Song Qing-shu noticed that his martial arts and sword skills had improved greatly. It seems that Zhuo Lingshan has indeed spent a lot of effort on him. Song Qing-shu nodded. Although Sherpotion's improvement was lightning fast, the Vajra faction master was an old devil who had been famous for decades. Sherpatian couldn't compare to him in terms of experience or cultivation level. Coupled with the Vajra indestructible divine art, Sure, Patian was in a difficult position. His mighty Vajra finger poked him until he cried out in pain. However, the guardian metal sect master was also secretly shocked. This young man's inner strength is very profound. My Herculean diamond finger stabbed him, but not only did no bloody holes appear on his body, but the recoil force even made my finger hurt. Sure Potion's cries of pain quickly attracted Ding Li's attention. When she saw his face, Ding Li was pleasantly surprised. Brother Tian. Then, she quickly noticed the itinerant monk who was attacking Sure Patian. She shouted, "Don't you dare hurt my brother Tian." Dingbu-san was shocked. He reached out to grab his granddaughter, but he missed. With his experience, how could he not see that the itinerant monk's martial arts were far above Ding Li's? He was worried that his granddaughter would be injured, so he quickly followed. Dingbu-si shouted, "Third brother, let me help you." He also rushed out. Chapter 1097. Zuo-Linchan was secretly complaining. His original plan was to come in and capture Wu Tianda, then leave and kill all the witnesses along the way. Although the Jade Clear Monastery was one of the 5 great monasteries under Wudong's sect, this time the Song Mountain Pai had turned out in full force. In addition to the 3 mountains, 5 peaks underworld masters, a mere Jade Clear Monastery was not worthy of his attention. Who knew that when he came in, he found that something was wrong. The people inside were obviously several levels stronger than the Taoist priests of the Clear Jade Temple. When he realized that something was wrong and was hesitating whether to retreat or not, he found that his men had already started killing. The people on the other side were obviously enraged and no longer showed mercy. In the blink of an eye, dozens of lives were lost. Once this enmity was formed, it would not be so easy to withdraw. Zuo-Linchan was also an ambitious person. He knew that if he retreated at this time, he would lose too much, and he would also offend an unknown powerful enemy. It was better to go all out and eliminate the root of the problem. Anyway, with the people he brought this time, it would be easy to destroy a big sect in Jianghu. The battle went as he expected. The Song Mountain sect had the upper hand, but at this time, 8 master archers appeared on the other side. The rain of arrows became a nightmare for the Song Mountain sect, and dozens of masters were shot down in an instant. After killing the 8 master archers with great difficulty, Zuo-Linchan was not happy because there were very few master archers in Jianghu. Looking at the posture of the opponents, it was obvious that they were experts in the army. He faintly felt that he had fallen into a big trap, but the other side quickly sent out a few supermasters, leaving him no time to think about anything else. He could only focus on the enemy. At this point, Zuo-Linchan could not withdraw even if he wanted to. He could only brace himself and see who would laugh in the end. At this time, Ding Li suddenly rushed out, followed by Dingbu-san and Dingbu-si. Whether it was the people of the Song Mountain sect or the Ryong Palace, they were all shocked and gradually slowed down, no longer fighting to the death like before. Just then, the guardian metal palm struck Sure Potion's chest. Although Sure Potion's internal energy was profound, and this palm strike couldn't take his life, it was enough to make Sure Potion's chest feel stuffy and short of breath. For a short period of time, Sure Patian was unable to breathe and lost the ability to resist. The sect master of Jin Gang finally found a good opportunity and was about to take advantage of the victory to kill his opponent when Dinka suddenly appeared in front of him. "Xiao wants to hurt my brother Tian." The Titanium sect master knew that the opportunity was fleeting. He had obtained this opportunity with great difficulty, but it had been ruined by the young girl in front of him. He could not help but fly into a rage. "Get lost, you lowly servant." Ding Li only felt a huge force, and his whole body flew out. "Don't you dare harm my granddaughter. Don't hurt Ding Li." Dingbu-san and Dingbu-si's shocked and furious voices rang out. The two of them, one on the left and one on the right, stood in front of the guardian deity. Although the two brothers had been fighting for several decades, their minds were connected. One of them used the Ding clan's grappling hand, while the other used the black killing palm. Their coordination was flawless, causing the enemy to be distracted by one thing and lose sight of the other. However, What surprised them was that the other party did not dodge and allowed their fists and palms to land on his body. The Ding brothers were delighted. The cultivation that they had accumulated for several decades was no small matter. In terms of cultivation, they were not necessarily weaker than the Xianming elders and the twin evils of Hejian. However, their expressions quickly changed. They felt that the places where their fists and palms hit were as hard as metal and stone, and the vibrations caused their bones to ache faintly. The Titanium Sect master laughed sinisterly and waved his hand twice. Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si screamed in pain as blood spurted out from their arms. The Titanium Sect master wanted to take this opportunity to kill the two of them, but Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si were also demons who had run amok in Jianghu for several decades. At this critical moment, one of them took out the smoking pipe from his waist, while the other took out the 9-section whip from his waist. One of them attacked the Titanium Sect master's eyes, while the other attacked his lower body. The two brothers were very experienced in fighting, so they immediately realized that the other party must have practiced the golden bell shield and iron shirt. However, he could not practice it to his eyes, and his lower body was much weaker than the other parts of his body. As expected, the Titanium Sect master's expression changed, and he hastily defended himself. The Ding brothers did not dare to continue fighting, so they hastily retreated and distanced themselves from the Titanium Sect master. Song Qingshu had a clear view of the battle. Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si had been defeated by him within a few moves, but that was only because the difference in their movement techniques was too great. Just like in the smiling, proud wanderer, if Dongfang Bubi only fought with Ren Wushing with his fists and feet, their cultivation bases were actually not that far apart. However, once Dongfang Bubi displayed his terrifying movement technique, Ren Wushing would basically be at his mercy. The Titanium Sect master was not known for his movement techniques, but the Ding brothers' lightness technique was slightly better. Their fierce reputation was not undeserved. If they had been at a disadvantage because they did not know about the other party's Vajra indestructible divine technique, they would have needed at least 100 moves to defeat the Titanium Sect master, even though they might not have been able to defeat him. Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si's cultivation bases were actually similar to the Xianming elders and the twin evils of Hejian. However, the two of them did not have the Xianming divine palm or the one finger's end, so if they really fought, they would probably be slightly weaker than the other two pairs. While Song Qingshu was pondering, the Titanium Sect master ignored Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si and pounced toward Shurpatian. He could see that the Ding brothers were no match for him, and Shurpatian would be more troublesome to deal with. The Titanium Sect master was a devil of the underworld, so he naturally did not have the concept of stopping at the right time like the righteous sections. Instead, he abided by the principle of taking advantage of the enemy's weakness and decided to kill Shurpatian as soon as possible. Just now, Shurpatian had been struck by the titanium palm on his chest. Even though he had withstood the attack with his profound inner force, he was still shaken by the Titanium Sect master's decades of cultivation base and could not muster any strength. Dingda noticed his condition and anxiously stood in front of him, hoping to stall the Titanium Sect master for a while and buy time for his lover. The entire process seemed long, but from the moment Dingda flew out to the moment Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si retreated, it only took a few breaths' time. The Titanium Sect master was angered by the fact that he had been blocked time and time again. So when he saw Ding standing in front of Shurpatian to protect him, she did not hold back at all. Song Qingshu didn't like the vicious Dingda, so when he saw her in danger, he couldn't help but hesitate whether or not he should help her. Deep in his heart, he didn't really want to save her, but he couldn't bear to watch a young girl in the prime of her youth die just like that. While he was hesitating, he suddenly saw another figure. Song Qingshu immediately relaxed. Just as Dingda was about to lose her life, someone suddenly appeared in front of her and threw a punch at the Titanium Sect master. The Titanium Sect master laughed sinisterly and used his titanium palm at full power, ready to shatter the bones in this person's hand. Chapter 1098. Shadowless Divine Fist. Ding Dian said in a deep voice as he retracted his fist. Good skill. The guardian deity's voice was slightly hoarse, and his expression was extremely ugly. He had been famous in the martial world for decades, and had not taken anyone seriously other than Zhang Sanfeng when he came to the Central Plains this time. Who would have thought that his Vajra indestructible divine technique would be broken by Song Qing-shu? Not long ago, he had suffered a setback at the hands of the mysterious embroidery bandit. Now, he was actually forced to retreat by an unknown junior. Of course, he also knew that if he hadn't fought with Shirpatian and fought with Dingbu San and Dingbu Si, causing his strength to be far from his peak, he wouldn't have suffered such a small loss. However, it was an indisputable fact that he was forced back by a single punch in front of everyone. Thus, his expression was extremely unsightly. Both the Ruyang Mansion and the Song Mountain sect were shocked when they noticed the situation. The people of the Ruyang Mansion were naturally aware of the guardian deity's strength. The Song Mountain sect had also been slaughtered by the guardian deity earlier. Now that they had seen a top-notch expert who could force him to retreat, both sides stopped their attacks at the same time and looked at Ding Dian's group with vigilance. There was no need to hide now. Su Shidan and Xian Qiji also came out from their hiding places. However, Song Qing-shu did not show himself for some unknown reason. Su Shidan thought that he was blaming Ding Dian for ruining their plan and did not say anything. He walked in front of Wang Baobao and cleared his throat. My master has been invited here as a guest. The elders at home miss him and sent me to bring him back. So you're Lord Han's subordinate. Wang Baobao immediately understood and sneered. Go back and tell them that your master is having too much fun and doesn't want to go back now. Su Shidan's expression changed. If you say so, then we'll have to offend you. As soon as he finished speaking, Xian Qiji took a step forward and a sharp sword chi spread in all directions. Wang Baobao immediately fell silent. Almost all of the experts under his command were dead or injured, leaving only Priest Bai Shun, the Jin Gang sect master, the Xiaming elders, and a few foreign monks. Moreover, all of them were injured. It was still a little difficult for them to deal with the group of people just now, but now that the other side had reinforcements, the outcome was very clear. Who knew that while Ding Dian was weighing the pros and cons, the Vajra sect master would fly into a rage out of humiliation because of the humiliation he had just suffered. He shouted angrily, I was careless just now and let you take advantage of me. Let's do it again. He then pounced on Ding Dian again. Ding Dian didn't dare to be careless when he felt the wind from the punch. He quickly put in 120% of his concentration and started to dismantle it. As the two of them fought, strong winds blew in all directions. Ding Run even found it difficult to breathe. Ding Bu San and Ding Bu Si hurried over to drag her away. Bring Brother Tian along with us. Even though they were in a hurry, Ding Li still didn't forget about Shirpatian. Sooner or later, I will kill this stinking brat with one palm. Ding Busan said hatefully. It's said that when a girl is of age, she can't be kept at home. What's the use of raising a granddaughter? You'd be better off living a free and unfettered life like me. Ding Busi gloated at Ding Li's misfortune when he saw how anxious Ding Li was for her lover. Bullsh asterisk T. This is Bullsh asterisk T. I will let this brat marry into our Ding family in the future. Ding Busan was furious. When he thought of this, he suddenly felt that Shirpatian was much more pleasing to the eye. Seeing that Ding Busan and the others had taken Shirpatian away, there was a slight commotion among the disciples of the Song Mountain sect. Zhuo quietly stopped the crowd and said, Let's observe the situation first. Now that the origins of this group of people were unknown, he was worried that they would clash with them. If they joined forces to attack them, the Song Mountain sect would most likely be eliminated from the Jianghu today. Those two old men are the Ding brothers from the Ding Mansion of the Zhenjiang Kingdom. The elder brother is Ding Bu San, and the younger brother is Ding Bu Si. Both of them are vicious and merciless in the underworld. Bai Jianxing was also a member of the underworld, so he had a good idea of these evil experts. Which sect did they get recruited by? Zhuo Linshan's eyes wandered over the group of people from the Southern Song dynasty, wondering who this group of people was. Bai Jinxing's expression was a little ugly. They don't belong to any sect because they have the official background of the Song Kingdom. Ding De Quan, the secretary of the Privy Council of the Southern Song Dynasty, is a member of the Ding family. People from the Southern Song Dynasty? Zuolinchan was shocked. Then he thought of the characteristics of the people who had just fought and suddenly thought of the Ruyang mansion of the Mongolian Empire, which was widely known in the Jianghu and had many experts. His face became even more gloomy. Bai Jinxing's words also confirmed his guess. If I'm not wrong, that impenetrable monk should be the leader of the Jingang sect. The old man in the green robe who fought with you earlier should be the priest of 100 damages. There are also the Xianming elders and the divine arrow 8 heroes. They are all from the Ruyang mansion of the Mongolian Empire. Why didn't you say so earlier? Zuolinchan said angrily. Bai Jinxing smiled bitterly and said, in that situation just now, how could I have had the chance to say it? Moreover, even if I'd said it, we wouldn't have been able to stop. Zuolinchan's heart turned cold. The Mongolian Empire was powerful now, and the Ruyang mansion had many experts. Back then, they had wiped out the 6 great sects of the Wulin world in one fell swoop. It could be said that they had made a name for themselves. If they offended such an enemy, how could they have a good time in the future? The only thing worth celebrating was that the Song Mountain sect was now in the Jin Kingdom's territory. The Mongolian Empire was temporarily out of the reach of the Mongolian Empire. Zuolinchan's heart was in a mess. Because the leader of the Jingang sect and Ding Dian had fought, the Southern Song dynasty regarded the Ruyang mansion as an enemy. A slight move in one part would affect the whole body, and in an instant they were in a mess. Su Shirdan and the priest of 100 damages were fighting, while Xian Chiji unsheathed his long sword and fought with the Xianming elders' crane beak brush and antler staff. Because Dingbu San and Dingbu Si were injured, they could only protect Ding Ao and Shurpatian while watching the Song Mountain sect beside them with vigilance. Song Qingshu sighed in his heart. His original plan was to let the Song Mountain sect exhaust the Ruyang mansion's strength. In the end, no matter who won or lost, they would not be able to withstand a single blow. Then, the Song Mountain sect would sweep the battlefield like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. It was practically perfect. Who knew that because of a change in the plan, the Song Mountain sect would be sitting on the mountain and watching the tigers fight, allowing the Southern Song dynasty to exhaust the Ruyang mansion. Young master, should we go down and help? For some reason, Lu Guining did not go out with Su Shirdan and the others. Instead, he stayed by Song Qingshu's side, subconsciously listening to his instructions. Let's wait and see. Song Qingshu shook his head. The Song Mountain sect hasn't made a move yet. We must stay calm. After all, the people of the Ruyang mansion had just fought a hard battle and were all injured. The experts of the Southern Song dynasty were all fresh troops, so they gradually gained the upper hand. The leader of the Jingang sect could fight Ding Dian to a draw with the indestructible body of Vajra, but the priest of 100 damages was injured because of his fight with Zuolinchan's frosty, genuine chi. Now that he was facing Su Shirdan, it was clear that he would lose. Chapter 1099. Song Qingshu was full of admiration for Xian Chiji. No wonder he dared to challenge the tens of thousands of Jin troops with only a few dozen people. Even though he was old, he still had the courage to capture the ringleader first. Seeing this, the foreign monks under Wang Baobao's command hurriedly ran out to block his way. Xian Chiji was like a dragon in the sea, quickly beating the group of foreign monks into a mess. Fortunately, Lu Zhanke and He Biweng reacted and ran back to block him. In addition, the foreign monks' joint attack technique was very mysterious, so they were able to stop Xian Chiji's advance. However, there were not many foreign monks, and all of them were injured. The Xianming elders were also injured. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that they would not be able to hold on for long before Xian Chiji broke through. Wang Baobao also noticed the current situation and shouted in a deep voice, "Bring them out." Not long after, his subordinates came out with the Southern Song delegation. Han Xingzhou, Lu Yu, Wu Tianda, all of them looked dispirited. It was obvious that they had not had a good time these days. All of you stop, or I won't be polite to them. Wang Baobao pulled out his saber and placed it on those people's necks as he shouted angrily at Xi and Qiji and the others. Seeing that Han Xingzhou and the others' lives were hanging by a thread, Su Shidan, Xi and Qiji, Ding Dian, and the others did not dare to move and stopped. Taoist Baisheng, the Jin Gang sect master, and the others hurriedly ran in front of Wang Baobao to protect him. Song Qing-shu, who was hiding in the dark, smiled and said, "The good show is about to begin." Lu Tuining, who was next to him, said with a wry smile, "Young master is really calm." He noticed that Xi and Qiji's hand was around Cheng Yaojia's waist, and the bitterness in his smile became even stronger. "I have seen a lot, so I'm naturally more calm than ordinary people," Song Qing-shu replied lightly. Cheng Yaojia's face turned slightly red. She had already noticed her husband's gaze and subconsciously reached out to push Song Qing-shu's hand away. Who knew that his arm was as steady as Mount Tai? She pushed several times, but to no avail. She could only blush and acquiesce in this situation. "Release Lord Han!" Ding Dian and Xian Qiji shouted angrily. Only Su Shidan's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. "If you want this king to let him go, that's fine. First, break your own right arm, and I'll let him go immediately." Wang Baobao's lips curled into a sinister smile. Song Qing-shu secretly sighed in his heart. This brother-in-law was really cruel and merciless. Why did he subconsciously call him brother-in-law? The expressions of Ding Dian and the other two changed when they heard this. Ding Ao, who was at the side, rebuked, "Do you take us for fools? If we lose our right arms, how will we be able to resist? Won't we become meat on your chopping board and be at your mercy?" Su Shidan also spoke up, "That's right. If we lose our right arm and you don't release him, we won't be able to do anything at all. If you don't, they'll die right now." Wang Baobao snorted coldly and exerted a little force in his hand. Han Xingzhou's neck was cut by the blade, and a trace of blood flowed out. However, he was, after all, a figure in the Southern Song dynasty who was above tens of thousands of people. He still had the ability to remain calm and did not show any ugly behavior of wagging his tail and begging for mercy. "If you want to kill me, just kill me. I'm not a person who is afraid of death. Shidan, you don't have to worry about me. Anyway, they don't dare to touch me. If something really happens to me, just wait and kill all of them." Han Xingzhou had a cold smile on his face. "Shut up." Wang Baobao was angry, but he also knew that what Han Xingzhou said was true. At this time, his group was already an arrow at the end of its flight. If they really fought, whether it was the previous group of people or the masters of the Southern Song dynasty, they would all be in danger. Han Xingzhou and the others were their only bargaining chips. Wait, Su Shidan was worried that Han Xingzhou would slip out of anger and kill Han Xingzhou. If that happened, the Han's group in the south of the Yangtze River would completely collapse. These years, as the chief think tank of the Han's group, he had already offended people like Jia Sherdao and Shermi Yuan. Seeing Wang Baobao's puzzled look, Su Shidan hurriedly replied, "You release him first, and then we'll cut off his arm." Wang Baobao was so angry that he laughed. "Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? Su Shidan looked embarrassed. He also knew that this proposal was too unreliable, but now he had to bite the bullet and try. "I will count to 3. If you don't cut off your own arm, I will kill them." Wang Baobao's face showed a trace of ruthlessness. After all, he was a famous general on the grassland, and he knew that he couldn't give in at this time. 1. Hearing him start to count, the people of the Southern Song dynasty looked at each other, no one knowing what to do. They really wanted to save Han Xingzhou, but how could they be stupid enough to cut off their own right arm at this time? 2. Seeing that the people of the Southern Song dynasty were indifferent, Wang Baobao's voice became colder. Su Shidan was panicked and subconsciously looked at Han Xingzhou. When he saw that Han Xingzhou shook his head imperceptibly, he immediately made up his mind and replied, "If you touch a hair of Mr. Han today, none of you will live today." In fact, with Su Shidan's wisdom, how could he not know what to choose? However, He was worried that Han Xingzhou would punish him in the future, so he had been hesitating. Now that Han Xingzhou had said it himself, he naturally had more confidence. Is that so? Wang Baobao showed a trace of a cruel smile. On the other side, one of his subordinates received a signal and raised his knife. The head of the person he was escorting suddenly rolled down the stairs. The eyes were wide open, and it was obvious that he had died with a grievance. This time is just to teach you a lesson. From now on, if you still don't respond after I count to 1, I will kill one person until the knife finally falls on you, Mr. Han's head. Seeing that the blood had shocked everyone present, Wang Baobao was very satisfied with the result. Hiding in the distance, Lu Guaniying's face turned pale. He recognized the person who had been killed, and his position in the envoy group was similar to his. If he hadn't been rescued not long ago, he might have been dead by now. Suddenly, he felt a little grateful to Tranquil, who had been cursing him non-stop. Song Qingshu frowned slightly, but the deeper the conflict between the Mongolians and the southern Song dynasty, the better. He was not in a hurry to show up. 1. Wang Baobao began to count again. Su Shidan hurriedly discussed with Ding Jian and Xian Qiji. But in this situation, what could they do? After a while, Wang Baobao snorted coldly. His subordinate received the signal and raised his knife, and another soul died. Xian Qiji was furious and was about to rush over, but Wang Baobao put the knife on Han Chuanzhou's neck horizontally. Su Shidan was so frightened that he hurriedly pulled him back. 2. After Wang Baobao finished shouting, he didn't give Southern Song's group any time like before. He gave them a meaningful glance, and another life was lost. Seeing that Wang Baobao was killing faster and faster, not only Su Shidan and the others were frightened, but even the previously calm Han Chuanzhou turned pale and trembled slightly. Although he knew that Wang Baobao most likely wouldn't dare to kill him, his body instinctively made him tremble uncontrollably. Su Shidan and the others immediately fell silent, but their eyes were filled with hatred. If looks could kill, the Mongolians would have already been torn to pieces. 3. Wang Baobao sneered, ignoring their gazes, and continued to count. Song Qingshu sighed. At this time, he had to act because the butcher's knife was hanging over Wu Tianda's head, Ling Huchong's head. In Song Qingshu's heart, according to the original work, Ling Huchong was not a good disciple. As the eldest disciple of Mount Hua, he had no sense of responsibility and responsibility. Later, when he was not accepted by the righteous path, it was inevitable that he would die. But no matter what, Ling Huchong at least had one good point. He was chivalrous. Back in Huiyin Tower, knowing that he would die, he fought with Tian Boguang to save a strange little nun, which was really admirable. Moreover, besides chivalrous, Ling Huchong was also Ren Yingying's sweetheart. Although Ling Huchong was his rival in love, Song Qingshu did not want to see him die in the hands of thieves. He had his own pride, and he wanted to take Ren Yingying from Ling Huchong. How could he watch him die here? In the future, when Ren Yingying learned of Ling Huchong's death, Song Qingshu did not want to see him die in the hands of thieves. Song Qingshu made up his mind. Just as he was about to save Ling Huchong, Zuolinchan spoke first. Wait. Wang Baobao's expression changed. He had intentionally or unintentionally ignored this side because he did not want to provoke a strong enemy, who knew that the other side would take the initiative to come to him. Sect leader Zhua, what can I do for you? At this time, one of his subordinates had already figured out the identity of the Song Mountain sect and told Wang Baobao. Hearing that the other side had recognized his identity, Zuolinchan's expression became even more gloomy. But now that things had come to this, he could only bite the bullet and carry on. Little prince, give this person to us, and we will leave immediately. After saying this, he pointed at Ling Huchong. So the Song Mountain sect came for this person. Wang Baobao was puzzled. A mere general from Xuanzhou, besides having passable martial arts. What did he have that was worth paying such a big price for? But he knew that now was not the time to think about this. His mind turned, and he came up with a plan. Kill these people, and I will give this General Wu to you. As soon as he said this, Everyone's expression changed greatly. Seeing Zhuo Linchen's gloomy expression, Wang Baobao continued, "Don't worry, this General Wu is of no value to me. As long as you kill these Song pigs, I will give him to you." Song Qingshu secretly clicked his tongue. This Wang Baobao was indeed worthy of being a famous general in history. His strategy of killing people with a borrowed knife was really perfected. However, Zhuo Linchan was not an easy character to deal with. He said in a deep voice, "These people's martial arts are high, and we do not have the confidence to kill them. Why don't we join forces and kill these Song people? Little Prince, you can then give this Wu Tianda to us, and the previous grievances will be written off." What does Little Prince think? Chapter 1100. The main reason why Zhuo Linchan was willing to help was that he had accidentally offended the Mongols. In order to avoid future revenge, he could only try to ease the relationship between the two sides. He was worried that Wang Baobao would not appreciate it, so he had to kill everyone present today, even at the risk of losing a lot of strength. Fortunately, Wang Baobao agreed to his request without hesitation. Zhuo Linchan let out a long sigh of relief and ordered his men to surround them. The expressions of Su Shidan and his companions were extremely unsightly. Originally, they thought that they would be able to watch the tigers fight, but now it had turned into two tigers joining hands to deal with the hunter. Although the combat strength of their group had not been depleted, they were definitely not a match for the joint forces of the experts of Ryong Palace and Mount Song sect. I was misled by the scoundrel before, so I offended the young prince. I'm really sorry. I'll kill the old man with the sword for you as an apology. How could Zhuo Linchan not realize that he had fallen into a trap? He thought about it, and the Song people in front of him were the most suspicious. He was angry, but he did not forget to greet Wang Baobao. He saw that Xian Shiji's performance was the most outstanding, and he almost threatened Wang Baobao's life, so he chose this person. Wang Baobao was also a smart man. He could see that Zhuo Linchan's target was only Wu Tianda, not him. Thinking of the heavy losses caused by the unjust fight, his face couldn't help but twitch, but he quickly suppressed the negative emotions and replied with a smile. "How can I let sect masters would take the risk alone? Master, go and help sect master Zhuo." Wang Baobao had good eyesight and could see that Zhuo Linchan might not be able to defeat Xian Shiji's martial arts. Now that it was a matter of life and death, he would not unwisely choose to add fuel to the fire. As the saying goes, a lion should use all its strength to catch a rabbit. He wanted to finish off the Southern Song experts in the shortest time possible to avoid trouble. Because of Xian Shiji's sharp sword chi, only the sect master of the Vajra indestructible divine skill did not have to fear his sword chi, so he was the best person to deal with Xian Shiji. Hearing Wang Baobao's order, the sect master of the Vajra sect grinned and rushed to join the fight. As the leader of the Five Mountain Sword faction, Zhuo Linchan was a top-notch swordsman in the Jianghu. Coupled with his strange, frosty, genuine chi, Xian Shiji was already having a hard time dealing with him. With the addition of the leader of the Vajra faction, the pressure on Xian Shiji suddenly increased, and he could only fight back 2 out of 10 moves. When they saw that Xian Shiji was in danger, Ding Dian and Su Shidan rushed over to save him. But the people of Ryong Mansion and Mount Song sect were already prepared. Daoist Baisu led the Xianming elders to join hands to stop Ding Dian. Originally, Ding Dian's godly reflection Jinqi was firm and yang, and was not affected by the Xianming Holy Palm's cold poison. Shadowless Holy Fist was also an extremely profound martial art. Facing Daoist Baisu alone, or the Xianming elders, he was not afraid at all. But with the 3 of them joining hands, the Xianming Holy Palm's power was more than doubled. Even with his godly reflection Jinqi protecting his body, he was still affected by the cold, and his blood flow was not smooth. Fortunately, he had already mastered the godly reflection scripture and had a profound internal energy, so he could barely hold on. The White Slate Evil Star and the Hujian Twin Evils surrounded Su Shidan. The White Slate Evil Star was a demon of the same generation as Daoist Baisu, and the Hujin twin evils had once put one of the three crossers of Shaolin Temple in a dangerous situation. Plus, the three of them were from the Qinghai sect, and their martial arts came from the same source, so their teamwork was not difficult at all. Soon, Su Shidan was in a very difficult situation. How can you know Shaolin's one finger's in? Su Shidan was shocked and angry at the same time. If he was not worried about the power of the one finger's in, he would not be in such a difficult situation. Who said the one finger's in is from Shaolin? The Hujin twin evils hated people talking about it the most, so they snorted and attacked even more fiercely. Su Shidan no longer had the energy to speak, so he had to focus on fighting the enemies. Grandpa, fourth grandpa, go help him. Although Ding Li's martial arts were not very good, she was usually the smartest one. With just a glance, she knew that they were going to lose, so she kept pulling Dingbu San and Dingbu C's sleeves anxiously. Dingbu San looked embarrassed and said, Grandpa's arm is injured, so he can only use half of his martial arts at most. Plus, Zuolinshan and the other martial brothers are eyeing us like tigers watching their prey. If we go forward, we will only attract more enemies. Dingbu Si also looked at the bloody hole in his arm and couldn't help but curse. Damn, the King Kong strength finger is really powerful. Seeing that her two grandpas could not be counted on, and Sure Potion's Shanzhong acupoint had been hit and couldn't recover in a short period of time, Ding Li was about to go crazy. Suddenly, she had an idea and shouted, Song, if you don't come out now, everyone here will die. Both the Ryong Palace and the Song Mountain sect did not take her words seriously. After all, Ding Li's martial arts were too weak, so how could she know any martial arts masters? Suddenly, a cold snort came from the night sky. Song, if I come out just because you call me, then I'll lose face. Su Shidan and the others were originally on the verge of collapse, but they suddenly realized that the enemy's attacks were gradually slowing down. They couldn't help but feel refreshed and slowly turn the tide. This voice is a little familiar. The Jin Gang master frowned, as if he had remembered something that he couldn't bear to recall. Zuolinshan also looked in the direction of the voice in bewilderment, but there was no one there. I think I've heard this voice somewhere before. Priest Bai Sheng's face showed a confused expression, but the Xianming elders hurriedly whispered a name in his ear, causing his expression to change. The three from a Qinghai sect looked at each other in dismay. Bowtie asked with difficulty, Is it that person? Hami looked as if she had seen a ghost. Who else could it be? Because the White Slate Evil Star cultivated evil arts. His facial features were corroded and fell off. Other than his two eyes and nostrils, there were no other ups and downs on his face, just like a white slate. That was how he got his name. Because he didn't have facial features, he usually looked the same when he was happy, angry, sad, and happy. Because of this, the double evils of Hujin often teased him, but now they actually saw fear on his face, which showed how scared the White Slate Evil Star was at this moment. Seeing that the experts from the Ryong Mansion and the Song Mountain sect had stopped attacking, Su Shidan and the others didn't dare to continue attacking, even though they were puzzled, for fear of angering the enemy. They quickly retreated to Ding Da's side. Now that they were surrounded by a group of wolves, they could only feel a little more at ease by staying together. Seeing that Song Qingshu still didn't come out, Dingda realized that he must be holding a grudge because of what happened before. She rolled her big eyes and smiled sweetly. Prince Song, Brother Song, my good brother, please come out and save me. Her voice suddenly became coquettish, causing all the men in the field to quiver. Some of the young disciples who were not strong enough to control themselves unnaturally turned their bodies to avoid the bulge in their crotch for being seen. Fortunately, the leaders were either old men with one foot in the grave or ambitious men who were not interested in women. All of them stared in the direction where the voice came from. Of course, there was one exception, and that was Lu Zhanke. His greedy eyes couldn't help but sweep over Ding Da's body, thinking, what a little vixen. If she can be so coquettish in bed, it will be the happiest thing in the world. Fortunately, everyone's attention was on the courtyard gate, so no one noticed his lustful eyes. Bowtie Hao and Haomi looked at each other, then stepped forward and bowed respectfully. May I ask if it is Prince Song who has graced us with his presence? The people of Southern Song sect couldn't help but look at each other. They didn't expect the change in the other's attitude to be so great. Just now, the double evils of Hejian had attacked Su Shurdan, and each of their attacks had been fatal. How could they be polite? Little did they know that these people from the Azure Sea sect had been beaten like dogs by the Isle of Heroes Zhang San and Li Si at the inn, and then Song Qingshu had beaten them like dogs with just one move. The gap between the two sides was like a chasm, so they couldn't bring themselves to make an enemy out of him. Naturally, their tone became extremely respectful. At this point, there was no need to hide. Song Qingshu walked out of his hiding place with a dark expression on his face. He glared at Dingda and said, "Young girl, where is your integrity?" He didn't have a good impression of Dingda to begin with. And when he heard her call him Song Qingshu, he was even angrier. He wanted to take the opportunity to grind her temper. In his opinion, an unruly woman like Dingli would not give in so easily. He wanted to take the opportunity to make her suffer. Who knew that she would call him young master brother without any integrity, catching him off guard? Integrity. Dingda was stunned at first, and then her face blushed. A trace of fierceness flashed in her eyes, but she quickly concealed it. She giggled and said, "Brother Song, you are so bad. I still have my virginity mark." Normally, if she met a stinky man who dared to tease her like this, she would cut off his tongue. But Song Qingshu's kung fu was better than hers, and she needed his help in this dangerous situation. She could only suppress her anger and put on a sweet smile. Virginity mark? Seeing that all the men in the hall were looking at him strangely, Song Qingshu wanted to cry, but had no tears. He just said a catchphrase from his previous life, but people in this world had never heard of it. As soon as Dingda heard the word chastity, she immediately thought of chastity and chastity. Song Qingshu's face darkened. The key was that he couldn't explain such a misunderstanding. He couldn't chase after Dingda and say that he wasn't asking about her chastity in public. Fortunately, the double spirits of Hejian helped him out. "So it's Prince Song. Sorry for not recognizing you." The White Slate Evil Star also bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Prince Song." Xianming elders smiled bitterly and had to go forward to greet him. "Greetings, young master." It was not the first time that the two of them had fought with Song Qingshu, so they knew that his martial arts were far superior to theirs. In addition, the two of them had always been by Zhao Min's side, so they knew that the royal princess had an ambiguous relationship with him. Perhaps in the future, this person would become their master, so they were even more afraid of offending him. This turn of events caused the eyes of everyone present to widen. It should be known that these people were all top-notch experts in the Jianghu. Chapter 1101. However, Ding Li quickly came to his senses. My brother Tian is still the best." Cheng Yaojia, who was following behind Song Qingshu, was not used to the scene of so many men looking at her. She shyly shrank behind Song Qingshu, but her face was brimming with happiness. Which woman did not want their man to be so powerful? Lu Guaning, on the other hand, looked excited. Seeing the big shots, who were usually high and mighty, saluting him was something he would not have dared to imagine in the past. It was already good enough for people of this level to look him in the eye. At this moment, Lu Guaning suddenly felt that it was worth it to pay so much. Song Qingshu was really a person worth relying on. Since we last met, Prince Song is still as graceful as ever. It's really enviable. Taoist Baisang also laughed. Next to him, the leader of the Jingang sect did not look as good as him. After all, his Vajra indestructible divine technique was broken by the other party in the inn. It was not an interesting memory. "Aren't you also old and strong?" Song Qingshu smiled faintly as a response. Previously, the reactions of the twin evils of Hejian and the whiteboard evil star were still fine. Seeing Taoist Baisang and the leader of the Jingang sect being so polite, the others were even more moved. How did this boy grow so fast in the past few years? Even I have to look up to him. Zwelinshin's expression was extremely unsightly. He'd always taken losing to Song Qingshu on Mount Tai to be an extraordinary humiliation, and he'd been cultivating bitterly in secret all these years. Unfortunately, every time he saw Song Qingshu, he noticed that Song Qingshu's cultivation would rise explosively, and it was to the point that he didn't dare hope to take revenge now. The eyes of the captured Han Chuan Zhou shone brightly. This person was alone, and just by standing there, he was able to intimidate all the forces into not daring to make a move. If he could win him over, there was no need to worry about not being able to achieve great things. Wang Baobao was also very moved. He had heard the people in the residence mention that when the master of the Vajra clan, Taoist priest Bai Sheng, and Kublai's subordinate Jinluan Fuwang and other top-notch experts were escorting his sister and Aunt Huajing to the south, they had suffered a great loss at an inn and were defeated by Song Qingshu alone. Wang Baobao knew very well how high the martial arts of the Vajra sect master, Taoist Bai Sheng, and the others were. When he thought about how they had been defeated by the young man in front of him, he suddenly felt his heart skip a beat. It was likely that things would not end well today. So, it's the Golden Snake King who has graced us with his presence. I've long heard of your great name, and it seems that you live up to your reputation, Wang Baobao said with a smile despite his nervousness. Even Wang Baobao had such an attitude. The people from the southern Song dynasty were shocked. The Mongolians had always been arrogant and domineering. Even an ordinary Mongolian envoy would act like a big boss in front of the Song dynasty, let alone a young prince. They had all seen how arrogant Wang Baobao was before, but now that they saw Song Qingshu acting like a completely different person, the people from the southern Song dynasty began to doubt their very existence. Song Mao has long heard that the young prince is the most outstanding Mongolian general of the younger generation. Now that I've met you, you are indeed extraordinary. As the saying goes, give a plum in return for a peach. Moreover, the other party was likely to be his brother-in-law in the future, so Song Qingshu was naturally much more polite. His flattery just happened to scratch Wang Baobao's itch. Wang Baobao had always considered himself to be a famous general. Unfortunately, because he was not a direct descendant of Temujin, the position of commander-in-chief for the western and southern expeditions had fallen to Zulwu and Kublai, which he had always regretted. If an ordinary person had flattered him like this, he might not have appreciated it. But now that Song Qingshu's reputation and status had made him an influential figure in the world, even Wang Baobao, who had always been calm, felt a little smug at being praised by such a person. But in the end, Wang Baobao did not let it get to his head. He quickly calmed down and said, "I wonder why Prince Song has come this time?" As soon as he said this, the experts of the Ryong Palace immediately felt their hearts in their mouths. If Song Qingshu had come to help the southern Song dynasty, there would definitely be a fierce battle later. It should be known that even at their peak, they would have a hard time dealing with Song Qingshu, let alone now that they were all injured. The people of the Song Mountain sect also had serious expressions. With the sudden appearance of such a super expert, not only would they fail to accomplish their goal tonight, they might even lose everything. Song Qingshu looked around and said, "It's too noisy here. It's not a good place to talk. I wonder if the young prince would do me the honor of having a private chat with Song Mao." Wang Baobao's expression changed slightly. The subordinate next to him immediately cried out in alarm. "Young prince, you must not. As the saying goes, a gentleman does not stand under a collapsing wall. This person's martial arts are so high that there are few in the world who are his match. If you meet him in private, won't your life and death be in his hands?" Seeing that Wang Baobao was also struggling inside, Song Qingshu took out something from his bosom and said, "Young prince, after you see this, you should understand." A subordinate of the Ryong Palace had already run over and brought the thing in Song Qingshu's hand to Wang Baobao. When Wang Baobao saw the thing clearly, his eyes could not help but brighten. "Very well, young master. Please come inside and talk in detail." The leader of the Jingang sect and the others were shocked. "Young prince," Wang Baobao waved his hand and said, "All of you stand guard outside the door. Without my order, no one is allowed to come in." Song Qingshu also said to Cheng Yaojia in a soft voice, "Wait for me here." Cheng Yaojia looked at the fiendish faces of the people of the Ryong Palace and the Song Mountain sect. She was somewhat afraid and thought, if they... Song Qingshu smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry, they won't dare to attack you." After saying that, his eyes swept over everyone present. Wherever his gaze landed, everyone's mind would be shaken. Even the top experts like Zhuo Linchan felt a chill run down their spines, and all of them unnaturally averted their gazes. His martial arts have actually reached such a high level. Zhuo Linchan's expression was extremely unsightly. Although he did not want to see Song Qingshu and Wang Baobao talk in private, he had no way to stop them. Now, the three forces had reached a delicate balance. If they were not careful, they would be attacked by the other two forces. Therefore, he could only wait and see. Song Qingshu leisurely walked over to Wang Baobao. Wherever he passed, the experts of the Riyang Palace subconsciously took a few steps to the side, leaving a path that was neither too big nor too small for him. Seeing him swagger over, Ding Ding couldn't help but shout, "Be careful." She did not have a good impression of Song Qingshu at all. The reason why she pretended to care about him was that now Song Qingshu had become their only hope. If he was careless, and the experts of the Riyang Palace swarmed him, then the Southern Song dynasty would not be able to resist the joint forces of the Riyang Palace and the Song Mountain sect. Song Qingshu's figure did not stop at all. It was as if he had not heard anything and directly passed through the experts of the Riyang Palace. Ding Ding couldn't help but curse in her heart. A dog biting Lu Dongbin does not know good intentions. It's best if he gets plotted against. At this time, Cheng Yaojia couldn't help but laugh and say, "Miss Ding, you don't have to worry about him. These people can't hurt him." Speaking of which, among the people of the Southern Song dynasty, Cheng Yaojia was the most confident in Song Qingshu. The others more or less had some doubts. Only she had seen Song Qingshu fight more than once. When he faced the experts of the Riyang Palace at their peak, he could easily take her away. Now that he did not have her as a burden, and they were like arrows at the end of their flight, how could he be in danger? Who's worried about him? Ding Ding snorted unhappily. Suddenly, she smiled with a strange expression and said, "How does Madame Lu understand other men so well?" Cheng Yaojia's expression changed, and she directly turned around to leave. Lu Guining fiercely glared at her and said, "Little girl, watch your mouth." This matter was originally his sore spot. When he heard Ding Ding's words, he couldn't help but become angry. Before, he might not have used such a fierce method to fight back, but now he had Song Qingshu to support him. In addition, he had cultivated the Bixia swordplay, so his heart suddenly became a lot more confident. "You!" Ding Ding was furious and was about to retort when Ding Jian glared at her and said, "Shut up. Now that the enemy is here, don't let outsiders laugh at you." Humph! Ding Jian had a righteous aura. Ding Ding had always been afraid of this uncle of hers, so she turned her face away and snorted heavily. When Ding Busan saw his granddaughter being wronged, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes. It was obvious that his heart was filled with killing intent. However, since Ding Jian had come forward, he couldn't say anything. He just meaningfully looked at Cheng Yaojia and her husband and sneered again and again in his heart. This little episode in Southern Song's team didn't attract too much attention because the attention of the various forces was currently focused on the tightly shut door. They were all guessing what Wang Baobao and Song Qingshu were talking about in secret. After entering the room, Wang Baobao stared at the unique earring in his hand and asked suspiciously, "Why is Min Min's earring with you?" It was because he recognized that this was his little sister, Zhao Min's favorite earring, that he agreed to take the risk and stay in the same room with Song Qingshu. "Brother-in-law, please return the earring to me first." Song Qingshu smiled slightly. He didn't move, but the earring in Wang Baobao's hand immediately returned to his hand. However, Wang Baobao didn't have the leisure to care about this. Instead, he looked at him strangely and asked, "What did you call me just now?" "Brother-in-law," Song Qingshu said matter-of-factly. "This earring is a token of love that Min Min gave me. If I don't call you brother-in-law, then what should I call you?" This earring was taken from Song Qingshu's ear when he first met Zhao Min after the lion slaughtering convention. Zhao Min had promised to give this item as a token of love to fulfill one of his wishes in the future. How could he not keep it close to his body? A token of love? Wang Baobao's expression was very interesting at this moment. At first, he had some doubts, but when he thought about his little sister and Zhang Wuji falling out long ago, and the fact that the Xianming elders often mentioned that his little sister had some ambiguous relationship with this person, he immediately believed 80% of it. Ha ha ha, so you're family. Wang Baobao patted his shoulder. Not bad, not bad. I think you're much more pleasing to the eye than that Zhang Wuji. Song Qingshu smiled faintly. I don't like him either. It seems like great minds think alike. Wang Baobao beckoned him to sit down. That bastard almost caused Min Min to not recognize her parents and brothers. She even abandoned her home. I've long disliked him. Song Qingshu could already face Zhang Wuji normally. In any case, he had already taken his revenge. However, he didn't have much interest in talking about this person. He couldn't help but change the topic. Why did Min Min come to Yangzhou this time? Why don't you know? Wang Baobao's expression instantly became cold, suspicion rising in his eyes. Chapter 1102. Wang Baobao had reason to suspect that Song Qingshu knew about his sister's recent whereabouts since they were a couple. Song Qingshu replied calmly. Last time when we parted ways in the Jin Kingdom, Min Min told me that she found clues about the antidote for the 3-corpse brain elixir. She was going to investigate them one by one, but she didn't tell me where she was going. Wang Baobao was relieved to hear that Song Qingshu was right. He laughed and said, Min Min has always been far-sighted. She must have her reasons for not telling you. It's not convenient for me to tell you in private. I see. Song Qingshu looked disappointed. He was curious about where Zhao Min was going. They chatted for a while. Wang Baobao finally couldn't help but ask, Are you here to help the Southern Song dynasty? This was the question he was most concerned about. Now that he knew the relationship between Qin Haodong and his sister, he became more casual in addressing Qin Haodong as young master and Golden Snake King. Song Qingshu smiled and said, Based on my relationship with Min Min, I won't help outsiders to harm my brother-in-law. Wang Baobao finally smiled and said, That's more like it. But what's your plan? Even if you want to capture the entire Southern Song dynasty in one fell swoop, as long as you say the word, I will immediately take care of them. Song Qingshu patted his chest loudly, and as he spoke, he was about to get up. Wang Baobao was confused by Song Qingshu calling him brother-in-law. He didn't recognize their relationship so easily, but he couldn't stand Song Qingshu's enthusiasm and his willingness to help the Southern Song dynasty. Wang Baobao liked Song Qingshu more and more. That's not necessary. Wang Baobao hurriedly stopped him and said, Now the Great Khan is negotiating with the Southern Song dynasty in order to concentrate on the Western countries. If I kill the Southern Song dynasty's envoy, the Great Khan will blame me. This is indeed not easy to handle. Song Qingshu also became hesitant, but he was overjoyed in his heart. In truth, Wang Baobao's attitude was completely within his expectations. Through the venerated Ming, Zhao Min, and the intelligence system of the Jin and Qing dynasties, he was very certain about Mongolia's upcoming strategy. Unfortunately, the Southern Song dynasty did not have such complete information, which was why they were intimidated by Wang Baobao's arrogance. I'm also having a headache. Wang Baobao laughed bitterly. Right now, he was in a difficult position. He clearly couldn't kill Han Xianzhou's group, but he had to pretend to be fierce to avoid being seen through by the other party. Song Qingshu pondered for a moment and said, I do have an idea, but I don't know if it will suit you. Oh, quickly tell me about it. Wang Baobao was having a headache over this matter. Hearing this, he immediately became interested. In that case, why don't you just let Han Xingzhou go? With me as the middleman, the Southern Song people won't dare to take revenge on you, Song Qingshu replied. Let them go. Wang Baobao frowned. He was extremely dissatisfied. If it weren't for the fact that they had a good chat before, he might have directly turned hostile. Song Qingshu calmly explained, What is your purpose in coming to Yangzhou this time? Of course it's to rope Enli Kashio, Wang Baobao blurted out. Song Qingshu smiled faintly and said, "We are all on the same side. You don't have to use such perfunctory words. Mongolia and Yangzhou are separated by the Liao, Jin, and Qin kingdoms. As the saying goes, the whip is too far to reach. Is it realistic to want Li Kashio to join the Mongolians?" Wang Baobao immediately became silent. After a long time, he nodded and said, "That's right. We also know that it won't be easy to get Li Kashio to join us. So, the bottom line is to not let Li Kashio join any of the Jin, Qing, or Song sides. Based on the current situation, Li Kashio is closest to the southern Song. That's why I've been holding Han Xingzhou for so long. I'm worried that they'll reach some kind of agreement in private. Actually, I've already solved the problem that the Mongolians are most worried about." Song Qingshu smiled mysteriously. Wang Baobao's heart skipped a beat. "You mean," Song Qingshu slowly said, "Jianghuai has already become the enclave of the Qing kingdom. The Qing court is now busy quelling the rebellion of the three border defenses. Their control over Li Kashio can be said to exist only in name, so the Qing side can be ignored. The Jin have just experienced internal strife, and their political situation is unstable. Tanquil's rise is too fast. His first problem is to solve the opposition forces in his country, so he has no time to care about the East. Not long ago, the Jin left in a hurry, which just shows that his rear is unstable." Wang Baobao nodded inwardly. According to the news not long ago, the Jin had indeed withdrawn from Yangzhou, which coincided with what Song Qingshu had said. Song Qingshu coughed lightly and continued. "As for the Song side, it is indeed a bit troublesome. The southern Song borders Li Kashio's territory. For the powerful Mongolians, the southern Song may be weak and easy to bully, but for a separatist force like Li Kashio, the southern Song is a colossus. Li Kashio has to consider the threat of the Song. Moreover, they are both Han people, so pledging to the southern Song is his best choice." Wang Baobao immediately snorted coldly. "That's why I've been holding Han Xingzhou, otherwise they would have reached an agreement long ago. I wanted to take the opportunity to force Li Kashio to side with the Mongolians. But Li Kashio, that old fox, has been vague and won't give a definite answer." He was speaking indignantly when he suddenly thought of something and looked up at Song Qingshu in surprise. "You just said that you have helped me solve this problem. Could it be?" Song Qingshu nodded. "Yes, I have already convinced Li Kashio to ally with the Golden Snake Battalion, so you don't have to worry about him pledging allegiance to the southern Song." Wang Baobao's expression suddenly became very interesting. After a long time, he smiled bitterly and said, "You brat, we have worked hard for half a day, but in the end, we have benefited you." Song Qingshu chuckled and said, "In any case, we should keep the goodies within our own fields." Thinking of his relationship with Zhao Min, Wang Baobao's expression became a little better. "Yes, it is better for Jianghuai to fall into your hands than into the hands of those countries. In the future, I will introduce you to the Great Khan. With your talent and the power under your command, it is more than enough to obtain the title of prince. At that time, you can marry Minmin. It will be a match made in heaven. In the future, if the Ruyang residents obtained such a powerful son-in-law, their strength within the Mongolian Empire would be above the other kings." At the thought of this, Wang Baobao couldn't help laughing out loud. Song Qingshu didn't respond to his words and only answered ambiguously. "Now that the Jin and Qing are powerful, I am afraid that I may not be able to wait for that day." Wang Baobao nodded and said, "Their strength is indeed a little troublesome. Originally, the Qing Empire was in a three-way war, and the Jin Empire was in internal strife. It was a good time to move south, but it is a pity that the Great Khan's strategic focus has shifted to the west, and he can't make a move. With the strength of our Ruyang residents, it is a little difficult for us to move south, but now that Brother Song has annexed Jianghuai, your strength has increased greatly. I will report to the Great Khan and have Mongolia cooperate with you in secret, so that you can take this opportunity to develop yourself and restrain the Jin and Qing empires. In the future, when our Mongolian empire moves south, you will be the main contributor." Song Qingshu's heart moved. Although Mongolia was his ultimate enemy in his heart, it was a good thing to make use of Mongolia to develop himself at the current stage. Since they were working together in secret, it wouldn't affect his reputation in the future. Right now, there is something that I might need your help with, Song Qingshu said. Oh, if there is anything I can help with, don't hesitate to ask. Wang Baobao smiled. This trip to Yangzhou seemed to be at the end of the road, and he might even be in danger of losing his life. But Song Qingshu's appearance brought a turning point. Although he couldn't rope Li Keqiu in, he gained an even stronger ally in Song Qingshu. The harvest of this trip to the south was extremely good. Song Qingshu replied, "Didn't I say before that Li Keqiu was worried about angering the southern Song, causing them to mobilize their army north? Now that I have obtained Jianghuai, I also have to face this problem. How do you want me to help you?" If it was someone else, Wang Baobao wouldn't be so kind, hoping that they would start a war with the southern Song and weaken each other's strength. But with his sister Zhao Min's relationship, Wang Baobao subconsciously treated Song Qingshu as one of his own. In the future, when Song Qingshu submitted to Mongolia, his strength would also be the strength of the Ruyang residents. In the depths of Wang Baobao's heart, it wasn't that he didn't have any thoughts about who the Great Khan's throne would belong to in the future. In addition, the Mongolians pursued the principle of strength, so he naturally didn't want to see Song Qingshu's strength be weakened. Everything will fall on this Han Xingzhou. Song Qingshu's eyes flickered, and he glanced meaningfully at the door. After the two talked for a while, Wang Baobao walked out and said to Han Xingzhou, "Minister Han, Golden Snake King wants to talk to you alone." "Talk to me?" Han Xingzhou's expression was strange. He had no friendship with Song Qingshu, so when he heard that Song Qingshu wanted to talk to him, he was extremely surprised. What was even more surprising was that Wang Baobao actually came out to pass the message and allowed the two to meet alone. He walked in with a perturbed heart. Song Qingshu stood up to greet him. "Minister Han, please sit." As he spoke, he untied the rope on Han Xingzhou's body. After living as a prisoner for so many days, he finally felt like he could see the light of day again. Han Xingzhou immediately had a good impression of Song Qingshu. What does Golden Snake King want to see me for? If it was before, with his status as the prime minister, he actually didn't think much of these Jianghu people. Even if Song Qingshu had the Golden Snake Battalion under his command, in his mind, it was just a relatively powerful force of grass bandits. But now, he vaguely realized that his life was in Song Qingshu, and when he looked at him again, he seemed to have a holy light on him. Sensing that the Song Mountain sect, Su Shurdan, and the others outside were craning their necks to look in this direction, Song Qingshu casually waved his hand, and the door seemed to be closed by a pair of invisible hands, cutting off all kinds of vision from the outside. "Minister Han, do you want to return to the Southern Song dynasty alive?" Song Qingshu's smiling words immediately made Han Xingzhou's expression change greatly. But after all, Han Xingzhou was a person who had experienced great storms, so he quickly calmed down and snorted, "I don't believe that Wang Baobao dares to kill me." Although he didn't have enough information, his decades of experience and knowledge allowed him to vaguely judge that Wang Baobao didn't want to kill him. That was why he had been able to calmly face Wang Baobao's threat. Chapter 1103. Han Xingzhou's expression changed, but he was shrewd and still said calmly, "I don't understand what you're talking about." Song Qingshu smiled faintly. "Since you said you don't understand, I might as well explain it more clearly." Without waiting for Han Xingzhou's response, he continued, "Minister Han's trip was extremely secretive, but you encountered several assassinations on the way. In the end, it was Ling Wu Tianda who happened to pass by and saved you. I think Minister Han knows who ordered those assassins." Song Qingshu had learned most of their encounters on the way from Cheng Yaojia and Lu Guaning, so he immediately hit Han Xingzhou's weak spot. Maybe it's just a group of blind Jianghu people who want to rob. Although he had a general guess, Han Xingzhou was still unwilling to show his true thoughts to outsiders. "Really?" Song Qingshu smiled non-committally. "Some time ago, Minister Han accidentally fell into the hands of the Ruyang mansion. You should know that the White Lotus Society came to attack the Jade Pure Temple, right? I know, Han Xingzhou replied expressionlessly. As far as I know, the White Lotus Society and Minister Han have never been on good terms. They didn't attack to save you this time, did they? Song Qingshu sighed on purpose. Speaking of which, the Ruyang mansion also suffered an undeserved calamity. They got into a fight with the White Lotus cult for no reason at all. Although we managed to defeat the White Lotus cult, we also suffered heavy losses. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been reduced to such a sorry state by the people from the Song Mountain sect. Han Xingzhou's eyes flashed, but no one knew what he was thinking. Song Qingshu continued. Speaking of which, the Ruyang mansion is really unlucky. First, they helped Minister Han block the White Lotus Society, and this time they help you block the Song Mountain sect. Han Xingzhou was finally moved. Didn't the Song Mountain sect come for Wu Tianda? Although he didn't know what attracted them to Wu Tianda, Zhuo Linchan of the Song Mountain sect had just said it himself, so it didn't seem fake. That's right, the Song Mountain sect is here for Wu Tianda. Song Qingshu changed the topic. Someone told the Song Mountain sect that the long-lost Bixie sword manual is with Wu Tianda, causing Zhuo Linchan to turn out in full force. Evil warding sword manual? Han Xianzhou's expression changed. Although he had lived in the temple for a long time, he had heard of its name and knew that it was a very precious Wulin treasure book. Minister Han is not a person of Jianghu, so you may not understand Zhuo Linchan's style of doing things. On the surface, he is one of the leaders of the righteous faction, but in fact he is cruel and merciless. He has also secretly befriended many masters of the underworld, such as the White Slate Evil Star, the Qinghai Owl, and the Hejian Twin Killers. They are all famous devils of the underworld. In order to maintain his positive image, every time he does something bad, he will follow the principle of in for a penny, in for a pound. He will kill all the witnesses. Therefore, although many people in Jianghu know that Zhuo Linchan has done bad things, they have no evidence. Noticing the change in Han Xingzhou's expression, Song Qingshu knew that with his knowledge, he probably already knew what was going on. This time, after the people from the Song Mountain sect entered the Clear Jade Temple, they killed everyone they saw. If it wasn't for the people from the Ruyang Prince's mansion blocking them, do you think Minister Han would have been able to escape? Jia Shixian, you're good. Han Xianzhou finally couldn't stand it anymore and slammed his hand on the table. The two of them had been fighting for so many years. How could he not see who was behind such a sinister and vicious killing with a borrowed knife? I'm afraid you didn't ask me to come here just to talk about this. Han Xianzhou calmed down and looked up at the young man in front of him. Song Qingshu nodded. Yes, I asked Minister Han to come here because I want to make a deal with you. What kind of deal? Han Xianzhou frowned. Minister Han must be clear about your current situation. There are several forces in the imperial court who want Minister Han to never return. Song Qingshu paused and waited for Han Xianzhou to reflect for a while before continuing. During this time, Li Kashio has agreed to submit to the Golden Snake Camp. As long as Minister Han represents the Southern Song Imperial Court and recognizes this relationship, I can let Minister Han return to Lin and city safely. Han Xianzhou was immediately tempted. Since he was captured by the Mongolians, he knew that this time he might not have a chance to win over Li Kashio. Now his primary goal had changed from winning over Li Kashio to escaping safely. As for Li Kashio's power, as long as it did not fall into the hands of the Jin, Qing, or Mongolian forces, the Southern Song could accept it, although he had already agreed in his heart. Han Xianzhou, a political old fox, would not give in so easily. He deliberately snorted. This time, not only did I not make any achievements, but I also lost soldiers and generals. When I return to Lin and with my tail between my legs, Jia Shixian and the others will not let go of such a good opportunity. Once they use this trip to Yangzhou to attack me, I'm afraid it will be a foregone conclusion for me to step down. Instead of falling into that miserable end, it is better to die for the country in Yangzhou and leave a good name. Song Qingshu laughed inwardly when he heard Han Xingzhou's impassioned speech. How could he be deceived by these superficial words? Han Xingzhou had deliberately said this to fight for more benefits. In any case, he already had enough trump cards to satisfy Han Xingzhou's appetite. Minister Han worries too much. I have a way to let Minister Han return to the Southern Song in glory. Not only will you not be attacked by your political enemies, but you will also be in the limelight for a while and become a national hero. Han Xingzhou was very curious, but he still looked at him suspiciously. What can you do? Instead of answering directly, Song Qingshu asked, May I ask Minister Han, between Jianghuai and Sichuan, which is more important? Sichuan, of course. Han Xingzhou blurted out. Sichuan was the country of abundance and could provide nearly 1/3 of the Southern Song Court's taxes. At the same time, Sichuan was also the Southern Song Court's western barrier. When Sichuan was conquered by the Mongols, the entire Southern Song Court was shocked. In the end, with the strength of the whole country, and with the addition of talented generals like Yu Jie and Wang Jian, they barely blocked the Mongols at Diaoyu City. However, losing Sichuan meant that the Southern Song country had lost its western barrier. The Mongols could not only advance eastward, but also bypass Guizhou to approach the hinterland of the two lakes. They could even borrow Dali to attack the rear of the Guangdong and Guangxi provinces. This forced the Southern Song Court to set up defenses everywhere, which consumed a lot of manpower and material resources. It was like a sword of Damocles hanging over their heads, making the Southern Song emperor and ministers restless. If Sichuan was in their hands, the Southern Song could retreat to the front line of Zhangguoyamping Pass. Sichuan had always been easy to defend and difficult to attack. At that time, the pressure on the Southern Song would be greatly reduced. At the same time, the hinterland of Sichuan could provide a steady stream of taxes and grain, easing the Southern Song's financial situation. What if I can persuade the Mongols to return Sichuan to you? Song Qingshu smiled mysteriously. How is that possible? Han Xingzhou stood up in shock. Noticing that Song Qingshu did not look like he was joking, he immediately reacted. As long as Your Excellency can facilitate this, I guarantee that the court will recognize the Golden Snake Camp's rights and interests in Jianghuai. Both sides can also sign a non-aggression agreement. At the same time, I will request the Emperor to officially confer Your Excellency the title of King of Qi. It was almost the end of the month, and the monthly votes were ranked 20th. He was in a state of being robbed at any time. He still had lingering fears about the tragedy of being overtaken by the people behind him in the last 5 minutes of his ranking. He really did not want to repeat the same mistake, so he shamelessly asked for monthly votes. I will update at least 7 chapters today and tomorrow to repay everyone. Chapter 1104. The temptation of Sichuan was too great. Han Xingzhou believed that as long as he could get Sichuan, the imperial court would not be stingy. A strange expression appeared on Song Qingshu's face. The other conditions were within his expectations, but the Prince of Qi was truly a pleasant surprise. Although he was called the Golden Snake King, everyone in the world knew that it was just a title. No one really took it seriously. However, the title of King Qi was different. In China's system of nobility, the title of king of one word was much more noble than that of king of 2 words. Among the titles of king of one word, Qin, Jin, Qi, and Chu were the most noble titles. However, due to historical reasons, the Song, Zhao, Liang, and Shou kings would not bestow their titles to anyone. Therefore, King Qi was definitely the most noble title. The reason why it was Qi instead of Qin was that Song Qingshu controlled Jianghuai in Shandong, which was close to the territory of Qi during the spring and autumn period. In this world, legitimacy was more important than anything else. With the title of Prince of Qi, Song Qingshu would have a righteous status. He would no longer be a bandit leader, and it would be many times easier for him to attract talents from the Han people. As for whether he would be treated as a subject of the Song dynasty, this was not something that needed to be considered. As long as he was strong enough in the future, it would be normal for him to switch positions. On the contrary, accepting the title of Song would easily arouse the hostility of the Qin, Jin, and Mongols. However, the Qing dynasty and the Jin dynasty were now under his control, and because of Zhao Min, the Mongolian Empire had formed a relationship with them. Thus, the problem that was originally a headache had disappeared. Okay, it's a deal, Song Qingshu said in a deep voice. Then he called Wang Baobao in. The three bargained and finally reached a final agreement. The Mongols would release Han Xingzhou and his men and return Sichuan. The Song dynasty would completely abandon the Jin and pay tribute to the Mongols. At the same time, they would provide the Golden Snake Camp with a year's salary. The Mongols and the Song dynasty would recognize the Golden Snake Camp's legal rights in Jianghuai and confer the title of King Qi to Song Qingshu. At the same time, the three parties would sign a non-aggression agreement. The specific details would need to be signed by an official envoy, but with this agreement, the rest was just a formality. After the agreement was signed, the three parties were all happy. The Mongols had already decided to give up on Sichuan and retract their forces. At the same time, they allowed the Southern Song dynasty to once again border their mortal enemy, the Western Xia dynasty, to consume the national strength of both sides. At the same time, they also replaced the Jin kingdom as the suzerain of the Southern Song dynasty and gained the Golden Snake Battalion as their ally. The Southern Song dynasty regained control of Sichuan, paid tribute to the Mongols, and provided the Golden Snake Battalion with a year's salary. Compared to the huge military expenditure before, it was just a drop in the bucket. What's more, they were supposed to pay tribute to the Jin kingdom. Now, they just gave the money to the Mongols and changed their relationship from uncle and nephew to brother. The emperor would be very happy. In the history of the Southern Song dynasty, the reason why so many emperors later became emperors was not because they had a high level of consciousness and did not desire power. It was because the agreement between uncle and nephew, later changed to uncle and nephew, with the Jin kingdom was too much of a trap. Because of this relationship, the Southern Song dynasty emperors had to call the Jin emperor uncle in official letters. They had to greet the Jin emperor cordially on festivals and birthdays. When the Jin emperor sent an envoy, the Southern Song dynasty emperor had to claim to be his nephew to receive the decree. If the Jin emperor was old, it would be fine. But in history, several Jin emperors were only young children when they ascended the throne. No matter how shameless the Southern Song dynasty emperors were, they couldn't bear it. So they simply passed the throne to their sons and let their sons call the Jin emperor uncle while they lived a happy life. As for Song Qingshu's gains, it was an ending that all three parties were very satisfied with. But since all three parties were satisfied, there must be someone who was not. Wang Baobao suddenly thought of something and looked out of the room with a grim smile. Where are the people of the Song Mountain sect? Why don't we kill them together? The Ryong mansion had suffered a great loss in the previous battle with the Song Mountain sect. Wang Baobao had almost lost half of his masters. He had to make peace with the Song Mountain sect to deal with the Southern Song dynasty. But now that he had two allies, Song Qingshu and Han Xingzhou, he naturally wanted to get back at them. Agreed, Han Xingzhou replied coldly. The Song Mountain sect was a knife sent by Jia Sherdao. Although he didn't know the relationship between the two parties, he wouldn't give up the opportunity to cut off one of Jia Sherdao's claws. I have no problem with that. Song Qingshu smiled faintly, but he sighed inwardly. Before this, the Song Mountain sect had already retreated. It turned out that Zuolinshan was also a smart man. When he saw Song Qingshu talking secretly with Wang Baobao and Han Xingzhou one after another, and the three of them even met together in the end, although he didn't know what the three of them were talking about, his sharp intuition told him that the coming danger was imminent, so he made a prompt decision to retreat with his men. The people of the Ryong mansion, Su Sherdan, and the others outside didn't dare to act rashly because they didn't get permission from their masters. Instead, they felt that the pressure on their side had been greatly reduced when they left. Although Song Qingshu had sensed the actions of Zuolinshan and the others through his qi, he still pretended to know nothing after thinking about it. He wanted to keep the Song Mountain sect because it would be of great use in the future. When Wang Baobao went out and found that the people of the Song Mountain sect were gone, he was very angry. Han Xingzhou also looked gloomy. Only Song Qingshu was smiling. Because they had reached an agreement, Wang Baobao directly released Han Xingzhou. Su Shidan and the others hurriedly gathered around Han Xingzhou and asked about his well-being. Seeing this group of loyal subordinates, Han Xingzhou's expression gradually became better. At this moment, a group of people suddenly came whistling, and the person in the lead was Li Kaxiu. I heard that some thieves attacked the Jade Pure Temple. Everyone, are you all right? Seeing the situation, Li Kaxiu couldn't help but be confused, even though she was experienced and knowledgeable. What was going on? Why were the Mongolians and the Southern Song ambassadors standing together in harmony? Commander, you really came at the right time. Wang Baobao couldn't help but say sarcastically. Yangzhou was the territory of the Song Mountain sect, but he didn't show up even after such a big movement. It was clear that he wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Han Xingzhou didn't have a good impression of him either. Previously, the two sides had clearly reached an agreement, but in the end, they were captured by the Mongolians. Li Kaxiu didn't come to their rescue, and when he came to the Jade Pure Temple several times, he talked to Wang Baobao in secret. Now, he quietly surrendered to the Golden Snake Camp. In Han Xingzhou's mind, Li Kaxiu was a two-faced person, so he naturally wouldn't give him a good face. Song Qingshu didn't want to see his future father-in-law and ally continue to be embarrassed, so he went over and roughly explained what had just happened. Hearing that he had reached a tripartite agreement with the Mongolians and the Southern Song dynasty, Li Kaxiu couldn't help but change his expression. However, he quickly concealed it. After a laugh, he warmly invited the three parties to stay in his residence for the time being. Han Xingzhou's group had been imprisoned for a long time and indeed needed a comfortable environment to freshen up. The people of the Ruyang household were all injured and needed to find a safe place to rest. Song Qingshu had more details of the cooperation that he needed to discuss with Li Kaxiu. Therefore, the three parties unanimously accepted his invitation. The three parties had just reached an agreement and were in the honeymoon period. They talked happily along the way, but didn't notice Li Kaxiu's flickering eyes. It was almost the end of the month, and the monthly votes were ranked 20th. He was in a state of being beaten up at any time. He still had a lingering fear of the tragedy of being overtaken by the people behind him in the last 5 minutes of his ranking. He really didn't want to repeat the same mistake, so he shamelessly asked for monthly votes here. I will at least update 7 chapters today and tomorrow to repay everyone. Chapter 1105. Because the Jin and Qing envoys had retreated and the Mongols and Southern Song had reached an agreement, Li Kaxiu naturally did not need to hide in the military camp like before. She chose to take everyone back to her admiral's mansion. Li Kaxiu arranged for the people of Ruyang's mansion to stay in the east courtyard. At the same time, late at night, he summoned the best doctor in Yangzhou City to treat their injuries. He also took out all kinds of elixirs from the mansion. Wang Baobao was very satisfied with his attitude, and his expression eased a bit. He arranged for Han Xingzhou and the others to stay in the west courtyard. In their group, except for Lu Guining and the other low-ranking officials who were tortured, the Mongols did not make things difficult for the higher-ranking officials. After all, Wang Baobao did not want to completely fall out with the Southern Song. They were imprisoned for too long, so they were a bit dirty. Then Li Kaxiu arranged for the maids to prepare hot water and fragrant incense for them to bathe and change clothes, which made Han Xingzhou and the others very satisfied. Song Qingshu had originally planned to look for Li Kaxiu to discuss some matters regarding the merger, but seeing that he was busy, it was not appropriate to look for him at this time. Thinking that it was already late, and, as the saying goes, there was still a long way to go, so he was not in a hurry. Thus, he stayed in a secluded courtyard arranged by Li Kaxiu. It's a pity that Miss Chung is too shy to come and accompany me. It's really empty, lonely, and cold. Lying on the bed, Song Qingshu helplessly sighed. Previously, he had used secret voice sending to signal Miss Chung to come quietly, but Miss Chung always blushed and shook her head to refuse. It was fine in private, but in front of so many people, including the elders of the Liu family, How could Miss Chung dare to show the slightest bit of difference? Song Qing-shu understood her situation and didn't force her. However, when he saw her shy and coquettish look, he couldn't help but recall the beauty of her singing in bed. Song Qing-shu felt a little thirsty. If I had known it would be like this, I would not have saved Han Xingzhou and the others. Song Qing-shu thought indignantly and unknowingly fell asleep. On the other side, after Li Keqiu finished making arrangements for the Ryong mansion and Han Xingzhou's group, her bright smile gradually disappeared. She returned to her bedroom with a solemn expression. After opening the door, he saw an old man slowly sipping tea. Although he looked similar to those old men in the countryside, his shining eyes were like a venomous snake waiting for an opportunity to strike. A handsome young man stood respectfully behind the old man. Li Keqiu frowned but didn't shout. Instead, he hurriedly closed the door, as if he already knew that the other party would be here. "Admiral, have you considered the matter we talked about before?" The old man gently put down the teacup and asked leisurely. Li Keqiu smiled bitterly. "Minister Zhua, this is not a small matter. How can it be so easy to make a decision?" "Lord Left Minister, if Han Xingzhou was here, he would definitely cry out in surprise." Because the old man before him was the current prime minister of the Southern Song dynasty, Machi Sua. Machi Sua's status was even higher than Han Xingzhou's, and he was nominally the #1 prime minister. Machi Feng said indifferently, "Since Admiral can't make up your mind, then I will help you make up your mind." She paused and continued. "Presumably, when Admiral came into contact with Han Xingzhou, you mentioned the old matter again. What was his reaction?" Li Keqiu's expression was somewhat unsightly. He answered in a low, muffled voice. He kept changing the subject and hinted that I should be at ease with the Golden Snake Battalion. Machi Feng showed an expression of having expected this. Of course, now that Song Qing-shu has taken the lead, Han Xingzhou has reached an agreement with the Mongolians to recover Sichuan. This is a great achievement. He wouldn't dare to complicate matters. Minister Zhua also knows? Li Keqiu was extremely surprised. She had just learned of the tripartite agreement in the Clear Jade Monastery. How could the other party be so well informed while staying in the Admiral's mansion? "I have my own channels of information," Machi Ing said lightly. She then changed the topic, clearly not wanting to discuss this topic any further. "Admiral, have you finally given up? Previously, you were determined to find a way to rescue Han Kuzhou. Now, you have seen the results yourself. After all, I had an agreement with him before." Li Keqiu looked embarrassed and unsightly. Machi Feng had actually come to Yangzhou a long time ago and had been trying to win him over. However, Li Keqiu had some misgivings. Even though Machi Feng was now the minister of the left and Han Xingzhou was only one of the vice ministers, Han Xingzhou was obviously a better choice than Machi Feng. Firstly, Han Xingzhou was the descendant of the famous minister Han Qi. The Han family was the most influential family in the Song dynasty. Their family's influence was deep-rooted, unlike Machi Feng, who had no foundation. Secondly, Machi Feng was one of the main culprits of Yu Fei's death. His reputation among the Han people was not good. If he joined Han Xingzhou's faction, who knew if he would be cursed by thousands of people? That was why Li Keqiu had tried to save Han Xingzhou. As for the straightforward promise to join the Golden Snake Camp, it was just a delaying tactic. She was trying to use Song Qing-shu's power to save Han Xingzhou. From beginning to end, Li Keqiu had never considered the Golden Snake Camp. Even though the Golden Snake Camp had been in the limelight for the past 2 years, it was still a little inferior compared to other countries. In terms of territory, the Jianghuai region under Li Keqiu's control had always been rich and populous. Coupled with the dense water network, it was a nightmare for all northern cavalry. It was much better than Shandong, which was surrounded by enemies on all sides. In terms of military strength, the 100,000 Green Camp under Li Keqiu's command was stronger than the Golden Snake Camp. How could he be willing to join the Golden Snake Camp and submit to Song Qing-shu? Seeing the hesitation on Li Keqiu's face, Machi Shou knew that the time was right. She said, "Lady Li, you should have heard that Han Xingzhou and Jia Sherdao are powerful, but they're not as close to the emperor as I am. Li Keqiu nodded. Ma Qishu was a supporter of peace through and through, which was exactly what Zhao Go wanted. That was why she was so favored in the past few years. She was able to overthrow Yu Fei, who was at the peak of his power, with Qin Hui. Now that Han Xingzhou, Jia Sherdao, and Shermi Yuan were fighting fiercely, the first thing Zhao Go thought of was to call Ma Qishu back to balance the two sides. Han Xingzhou is not sure that he can put your daughter on the throne of the Empress, but I am. Ma Qishu finally threw a heavy bomb. Is that true? Li Keqiu was shocked. He had always dreamed of being the emperor's uncle. If he could make Li Yuanji the real empress of the Song dynasty, he would not care about the vague promise that Song Qingshu had made. Moreover, he could only offer the position of imperial concubine. Of course, seeing that Li Keqiu was tempted, Ma Qifeng smiled faintly. Not only that, after Lord Admiral defers to the great Song, this minister can persuade His Majesty to bestow Lord Admiral the title of King Wu. Your fief will be here, and I can guarantee that your territory and army will not change. Hearing Ma Qishu throw out bargaining chips one after another, Li Keqiu was finally moved. Thank you to the king of meat pigeons, bingo ice fruit, 19420, Bright Moon Janny, 465811664, book friend 8102740, and other readers for your monthly votes. Now, the monthly votes had advanced by 1 place. Chapter 1106. Li Keqiu was well aware of the Song dynasty's system of conferring titles to kings. The number of kings was strictly controlled. The highest rank was the king, such as the king of Qin, the king of Jin, and the king of Chu. Usually, those who received these titles were either extremely favored princes who had the potential to inherit the throne, or they were special people. For example, Cai Zongxuan was conferred the title of king of Zheng. Meng Chong was conferred the title of king of Chu. Li was conferred the title of king of Wu, and Xianti was conferred the title of king of Deng. These people were once true emperors who surrendered after being defeated by the Song dynasty. Of course, there were also some ministers who had made great contributions and could be conferred the title of king. For example, Zhao Pu was conferred the title of king of Han, Chao Bin was conferred the title of king of Han, and Wang Engshi was conferred the title of king of Shu. However, without exception, they were only conferred the title of king after their deaths. None of them could enjoy this honor while they were still alive, let alone have their own kingdoms and armies. The second rank was the king of heirs. These titles were usually passed down through the royal family and had nothing to do with outsiders. The third rank was the king of Jun, such as the king of Renan and the king of Qinghe. They were usually conferred to princes and grandsons. Conferring the title of king of Jun started with Tongguan, and before that, ministers' titles were not higher than duke. At first, Li Keqiu thought that he would be thankful if he could get the title of duke. If he could be conferred the title of prince of Guangling, Guangling was the ancient name of Yangzhou, he would be so lucky. Who knew that Ma Qishu would give him the title of king of Wu, and a real king who had a kingdom and an army? Seeing Li Keqiu's shocked expression, Ma Qishu stroked his beard proudly. He had his own difficulties for being so generous. After all, he knew his current situation better than anyone else. Although he was the head of the prime minister, his actual power was divided by Han Xingzhou, Jia Sherdao, and Shermi Yuan. His value was to be used by Zhao Go to balance these two groups, so that the court could reach a delicate balance. Once the time was right, he and Zhang Jun, this transitional group, could be abandoned at any time. Of course, they didn't want to end up like this. Now, all their power came from Zhao Go, and they didn't have their own foundation like Han Xingzhou and Jia Sherdao. Zhang Jun was fine. After all, as one of the 4 great generals, he had some influence in the army, and he had the loyal army Zhang Rou as external help. Ma Qishu's situation was much worse. When Qin Hui fell, Ma Qishu's minions were also taken care of, and he himself had been living in the wilderness for many years. Now that he was called back to the prime minister's office, he was almost a commander without an army. Therefore, he desperately wanted his own people, and the powerful Li Keqiu was his best choice. Therefore, He was more active than anyone else in wooing Li Keqiu, and his conditions were much better than Han Xingzhou's. Li Keqiu's expression changed, and he suddenly said, "But I have already agreed to serve Song Qingshu." Hearing this, a smile appeared on Machi Sua's face because he knew that Li Keqiu had agreed. He said, "Don't worry about that. I have my own way to deal with him." Li Keqiu frowned and said, "Ministers may not know how powerful Song Qingshu is. His martial arts are so high that it's rare in the world. I think even if the Ryong Mansion and the masters under Han Xingzhou join hands, they won't be able to defeat him. Once he realizes it, he will fly into a rage and lead the Golden Snake camp to the south. I don't have the confidence to defeat him." Although Li Keqiu had 100,000 Green Camp under his command, and the number of troops was greater than Song Qingshu's Golden Snake Camp, Song Qingshu had defeated the 100,000 elites of the imperial court of the Qin kingdom. Although Li Keqiu claimed to be a famous general, the imperial court had sent people like Prince Yulu, Tu Hai, and Sabusu, all of whom were famous generals. If they really fought, Li Keqiu didn't have the confidence to win. Even if he won, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, and he would definitely suffer heavy casualties. Now, the army was his capital. If the losses were too great, the surrounding forces that were eyeing him covetously wouldn't mind devouring this fat piece of meat. The Golden Serpent Battalion is nothing but a group of bandits. The only reason why they are invincible is because of Song Qingshu. Without Song Qingshu, what can that motley crew achieve? Ma Qi-ing said in a meaningful tone. "That's right. Without Song Qingshu, I have the confidence to annex the territory of the Golden Snake Camp within a month." Li Keqiu said dejectedly, "But Song Qingshu's martial arts are so high. Who in the world can keep him here?" Machi Sua smiled, pointed to the young man behind him, and said, "I brought this grandson here to deal with Song Qingshu. Guet quickly come and greet Masterly." The young man took a step forward and bowed. "Machi Gue greets Masterly." If Song Qingshu or Dian were here, they would surely exclaim in shock, because this Machi Gue was shockingly the man who had used despicable methods to seize Di Yun's childhood sweetheart, Qi Fong, from the Jing prefecture city. Wan Gue's father, Wan Jinshan, was the son of Machi Sua's concubine. After Qin Hui's death, Qin Hui was liquidated, and Machi Sua was soon forced to retire. In order to avoid the revenge of their enemies, their family changed their surname to Wan. Wan Jinshan and his son were sent to Jianghu to search for the legendary treasure of Emperor Liang Yuan, which would be used for the Machi family's comeback. Later, when Song Qingshu, Ding Dian, and Diyun caused a ruckus in Jiangling City, Wan Jinshan was worried that they would seek revenge, so he brought his son, Wan Gue, and daughter-in-law, Qi Fong, back to the family in advance. Coincidentally, Machi Sua was re-recruited by Zhao Go as the prime minister and urgently needed help. So their family followed her to Lin and hid in the imperial court. No wonder Di Yun couldn't find out Qi Fong's whereabouts, even with the help of the Flying Guillotine's intelligence network. "Young master, please rise." Li Keqiu looked at him in surprise. Suddenly, he frowned and said to Machi, "Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but although young master looks talented, I'm afraid your martial arts." He didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was clear. Li Keqiu, after all, had spent a lifetime in the military and was also a person with martial arts skills. He could tell that although this young man had martial arts, it wasn't very high. He probably couldn't even defeat himself, let alone Song Qingshu. Pretty boy. This was the true reaction in Li Keqiu's heart. Machi Sua smiled, but didn't say anything. Wan Gue answered, "Lord Li, you've misunderstood. Song Qingshu's martial arts are unparalleled. Naturally, it's impossible to defeat him with martial arts. The one who wants to defeat him is not me, but it." He took out a wooden box from his luggage and placed it on the table with a solemn expression. Seeing his serious expression, Li Keqiu's interest was instantly piqued. "What is this?" Wan Gue didn't have time to answer her. He focused all his attention on opening the wooden box. He was very careful throughout the process, afraid that he might break something if he moved too much. A thin layer of sweat appeared on his temples. Li Ka-shio frowned and looked inside. She saw a glass bottle in the wooden box. Sealed inside was a lotus flower, but each leaf was shining like gold. When Li Ka-shio saw Wan Gui's serious expression, she was filled with anticipation. But when she realized that there was only a flower in the box, she was instantly disappointed. She couldn't help but say in a sarcastic tone, "Young master, do you plan to use a flower to defeat the unparalleled Golden Snake King, Song Qingshu? It's the end of the month. In order not to have your chrysanthemums burst, if you have a monthly ticket, please support this monk. This monk will update 5 chapters today to thank everyone." Chapter 1107. Wan Gui didn't mind Li Ka-shio's attitude. Instead, he pointed at the flower in the glass vase and introduced it solemnly. "This is no ordinary flower. It's the golden rippling flower." Golden rippling flower? Li Ka-shio frowned. After thinking for a long time, she realized she had never heard of it. Wan Gui explained, "The word rippling flower is Sanskrit. It means devil. This poisonous flower came from India, and the Indians call it the devil flower. It's extremely poisonous, and there's no antidote in the world. Just a whiff of its fragrance is enough to make a top-notch expert faint." The golden rippling flower came from the city linking incantation. In the original work, Ding Jian fainted after smelling it. Later on, Ding Jian mastered the godly radiating scripture, and Ling Tusi smeared the poison on Ling Shuanghua's coffin. When Ding Jian went to carry the coffin and told Ling Shuanghua about his feelings, the golden rippling flower stuck to his skin. As a result, Ding Jian, who had mastered the godly radiating scripture and was almost invincible in the world, was immediately poisoned and died with hatred. Because of Song Qingshu's appearance, the plot of this world had unexpectedly changed. Ding Jian had escaped with Ling Shuanghua in advance, but he didn't expect to suffer the poison of the golden rippling flower himself. When Wan Jinshan and his son were in River Tomb City, they learned about the mystical poison, the golden ripple flower, from Ling Tusi. Later on, when Machi Suo became the prime minister, Wan Jinshan and his son borrowed his power to get a few golden ripple flowers from Ling Tusi. What? Hearing the terrifying poison, Li Ka-shio's expression changed, and she subconsciously took a few steps back. Wan Gui closed the wooden box again and said with a smile, "Lord Li, don't worry. This flower is sealed with a special method. The poison won't leak out." Machi Chu then said, "As long as this flower is placed in Song Qingshu's room, he won't be able to escape no matter how powerful his martial arts are." Li Ka-shio suddenly looked hesitant. "This Song Qingshu saved my life, after all. I only want to restrain him. I don't want to harm his life." Machi Ku sneered inwardly, thinking, "You were trying to think of a way to deal with Song Qingshu, but now that you've found a way, you're acting like this. What a hypocrite." However, he didn't say what he was thinking. Instead, he said, "Admiral, you can rest assured. Song Qingshu will faint after smelling this flower. He won't even have time to touch the petals. As long as it doesn't touch his skin, his life will not be in danger." Wan Gui looked at his grandfather in astonishment, thinking that the golden rippling sunflower is known as the king of 10,000 poisons, and just smelling it 3 times will make incurable. Why would his grandfather lie to Li Ka-shio? However, he reacted quickly and quickly came to a realization. He smiled and echoed, "Indeed." Li Ka-shio heaved a sigh of relief. "Then I'm relieved. It's already late. Lord Li will lure Song Qingshu out of the room during the day, and then we'll put the golden ripple flower inside." Machi Ku sneered inwardly as she spoke. Now, that Li Ka-shio was in a dilemma. Only by taking things to the extreme would he be able to completely side with her. Subsequently, the few of them secretly discussed the details of tomorrow's operation in the room. At the same time, they also planned how Li Ka-shio would lead the army to the north in the shortest time possible after Song Qingshu was controlled. Unknowingly, the sky had brightened. However, with an important matter at hand, all 3 of them were in high spirits and didn't feel the slightest bit tired. After daybreak, Machi Ku and Wan Gue continued to hide in the room to perfect all the details, while Li Kashio went out to greet the guests of the residence. After a night of rest, the people of the Ruyang household had completely recovered their fighting strength. Seeing that this matter was over, coupled with the heavy losses his subordinates had suffered, Wang Baobao took the initiative to say his goodbyes. After all, the Southern Song Party had been captured and humiliated by the people of the Ruyang household. Even though both sides had reached a reconciliation agreement, it was easier said than done to completely bury the hatchet. Rather than getting along awkwardly, it was better to take advantage of the honeymoon period to separate, so as to avoid any future conflicts that would affect the previous contract. Therefore, Wang Baobao had already made up his mind to leave, and the Southern Song Party was not sincere in persuading him to stay. Li Kashio proposed to send troops to escort them, but Wang Baobao refused. If I can't even protect myself, how can I run amok in the world? Song Qingshu nodded. He knew that with the strength of the experts of the Ruyang household, even if the people of the Song Mountain sect returned and secretly set up an ambush, they would definitely not be able to stop them. Seeing this, Li Kashio didn't insist. He was eager for the people of the Ruyang household to leave, so as not to affect the operation at night. He casually urged them to stay, then sent Wang Baobao and the others off. Brat, remember to come to the Ruyang household to look for us when you arrive in Mongolia. Hee, you have tricked Min Min into falling for you, so you have to give an explanation to your family. Before Wang Baobao left, he pulled Song Qingshu aside and whispered, That's for sure. In the future, I will personally go to the Ruyang household to propose marriage. Song Qingshu had a smile on his face, but he was groaning in his heart. This time, in order to facilitate the peace talks, he had lied that he and Zhao Min had pledged to marry each other. If Zhao Min found out about this, he didn't know whether or not she would fly into a rage out of humiliation. Hearing his agreement, Wang Baobao left with his subordinates in satisfaction. Next, Li Kashio held a big banquet to welcome the people of the Southern Song Party, so as to calm their nerves. The guests and the host were all happy at the banquet. During the banquet, Han Xingzhou expressed his sincere gratitude to Song Qingshu for his help. While Song Qingshu modestly declined, he also pushed Lu Guaning forward, telling him how loyal he had been and how he had been running around to rescue them. Han Xingzhou was deeply moved and personally stood up to toast Lu Guaning. This made Lu Guaning feel flattered, and at the same time, he was grateful to Song Qingshu for his kindness. After that, Song Qingshu deliberately pulled Lu Yu and Xianqiji to toast. It should be known that these two were his idols in his previous life. Unexpectedly, they had the opportunity to drink at the same table, which made Song Qingshu sigh at the wonders of the world. Not to mention Lu Yu and Xianqiji. Even Han Xingzhou and Li Kashio were a little confused. After all, in this world, Song Qingshu's reputation and status were far above these two. It was not until they heard that Song Qingshu liked the poems of these two that everyone understood. Fang Wang and Jiaxuan's attainments in poetry are indeed extraordinary. Except for Mr. Dompa, I'm afraid no one in this dynasty can match them. Han Xingzhou was also happy to see his subordinates have a good relationship with Song Qingshu, which would be more conducive to future cooperation. Among the people present, only Miss Chung had the most complicated feelings. It was fine that Song Qingshu was on good terms with Xianqiji, but when she saw him and Lu Yu talking happily and calling each other brothers, she secretly spat in her heart. Humph, if you really admire him so much, why would you sleep with his nephew's wife? Thinking of the endless sexual methods of the other party, Miss Chung could not help but blush and her heart beat faster. She hurriedly drank to cover up the unnatural expression on her face. Ding Ding had been secretly watching her and found that from time to time, she would put her gentle eyes on Song Qingshu. She could not help but smile playfully. This grand banquet lasted for several hours. After the music ended and people dispersed, Song Qingshu finally had the opportunity to find Li Kashio. He said with a faint smile, What is Uncle Li planning recently? Thank you to my book friends, Bingo, Big Ice Fruit, and Ultra Free for your gifts and monthly votes. Chapter 1108. Li Keshio was shocked and said unnaturally, "What else can I plan?" He was terrified. Is he so resourceful that he even knows our plan? Song Qing-shu smiled and said, "Uncle Li, shouldn't you plan on how to merge with the Golden Snake camp?" Li Keshio was startled and felt relieved. Then he laughed and said, "Of course, of course." Song Qing-shu looked at the direction of the Southern Song delegation and said in a relaxed manner, "Uncle Li was worried that if you chose the Golden Snake camp, it would cause a strong reaction from the Southern Song. Now I have handled everything. Not only have I gained the recognition of the Southern Song dynasty, but also the support of Mongolia. In addition, I can influence the decisions of the Jin dynasty and the Qing dynasty to a certain extent. So now we are in a good situation. We only need to take this opportunity to completely integrate the Golden Snake camp and Uncle Li's Green camp, so that when the world changes in the future, we can take advantage of the situation." A trace of guilt flashed in Li Keshio's eyes, but he quickly concealed it and said, "Nephew, you are right. We really need to prepare for a rainy day." Seeing that there was no one around, Song Qing-shu said, "I don't know if I can talk to Uncle Li alone. After all, our two families are united, and some things are confidential." Of course, of course." Li Keshio leaned to one side and said, "Nephew, come with me." Song Qing-shu followed Li Keshio to his study, and the two began to discuss the details of the cooperation between the two sides. Because he was afraid of neglecting Li Keshio, Song Qing-shu had been taking care of his interests. Some of the requirements he put forward were very reasonable, striving for the principle of a win-win situation. He originally thought that Li Keshio would argue for more benefits, so he still left room for concessions on some issues. Unexpectedly, Li Keshio had almost no objection to his proposals and agreed to all of them, which made Song Qing-shu feel embarrassed, feeling that he had taken a big advantage. Song Qing-shu inevitably had some doubts in his heart. Li Keshio's reaction today was a little abnormal, not like his usual sly temperament. However, he soon felt relieved. After all, they had already decided to unite by marriage, so they could be considered as a family. Their fundamental interests were the same. Song Qing-shu even felt that he was gauging the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. He was not as open-minded as the elders. After several hours of secret talks, the two sides had reached a preliminary consensus on almost all aspects. This progress made Song Qing-shu a little overjoyed. Before they knew it, it was time for dinner again. Li Keshio led Song Qing-shu to invite Han Xingzhou and the others to a banquet. Han Xingzhou was not surprised to see them appear together. After all, according to the previous agreement, they were already a father-in-law and son-in-law. Song Qing-shu was naturally half the host here. Before, in order to avoid the Jin and Qing envoys, Li Keshio had moved everyone in the mansion to the military camp, so Song Qing-shu had not seen Li Yuanji. But he had been busy with all kinds of things and had not had time to care about her. Previously, in order to avoid the Jin and Qing envoys, Li Keshio had moved all the people in the mansion to the military camp, so Song Qing-shu had not seen Li Yuanji. But he had been busy with all kinds of things and had not had the time to care about her. Now that the situation was settled, Song Qing-shu could not help but think of that weird girl. Previously, in the Yinjing Imperial Palace and in Shengjing, the two had always had a good relationship. He did not know if she would be angry when she found out that she was going to marry him. Song Qing-shu knew that Li Yuanji had always liked Yu Yutong of the Red Flower Society, but he did not know if Yu Yutong was a mature wife-lover, but he liked his fourth sister-in-law, the wife of Thunderhand Wen Tai Lai, Luo Bing. He ignored the beautiful Li Yuanji and only saw her as a younger sister. Knowing this, Li Yuanji still liked him without complaint. Who knew that in the Battle of Shengjing, Yu Yutong would discover Yu Wanting's secret and die at his hands? I don't know if the girl has gotten over this sad first love. Song Qing-shu sighed. Li Yuanji's weird personality was very charming, and he did not want to see her become unhappy and lose her nature because of Yu Yutong. Hearing Song Qing-shu ask about her daughter, Li Keshio's expression was a little unnatural. "My dear nephew, after all, you're already engaged. Isn't it a little inappropriate to meet at this time?" In fact, Li Keshio did not want his daughter to meet him. After all, he planned to send his daughter to the Southern Song dynasty to be the empress. There were so many people from the Southern Song dynasty present. If Li Yuanji had an affair with another man, her future would probably be ruined if the news got back to the Southern Song dynasty. Song Qingshu frowned and felt a little depressed. This marriage was probably not something that could be completed in a short time. Didn't that mean that he would not be able to see Li Yuanji for a long time? But he also knew that there was such a rule in this world. It was not very auspicious for a man and a woman to meet in private before marriage. Moreover, her father had spoken, so he could not say anything. After drinking unhappily for the whole night, Song Qingshu walked back to the courtyard where he lived after the banquet ended. He was very depressed on the way back. Every day, he had to sleep alone on an empty bed. It was really lonely. Unfortunately, Cheng Yaojia was shy. In front of the elders and other people, she did not dare to quietly look for him. When Song Qingshu asked Li Keshio about it, in addition to really caring about Li Yuanji, he also missed Luo Bing. After all, last time in Xingjing, Luo Bing followed Li Yuanji to Jiangnan to relax. Thinking of Luo Bing's mature and beautiful body, Song Qingshu suddenly felt thirsty. It was a pity that Li Keshio did not let him meet Li Yuanji, so he naturally could not get any news about Luo Bing. Song Qingshu was also embarrassed to ask his future father-in-law about other women, so he could only resentfully come back. Why don't I go find Jiao Weiner? When he reached the door, Song Qingshu suddenly stopped and looked hesitant. Calculating the time, Jiao Weiner should be back soon. Song Qingshu's body moved, but in the end, he did not take a step forward. Forget it. Right now, business is more important. If Li Keshio finds out that he is cheating, it will not look good for him. After all, the two of them have just decided to unite by marriage. After thinking about it, Song Qingshu still felt that business was more important. If he made a mistake because of his greed for a woman, he would really have no face to face his elders. Forcibly calming down the throbbing in his heart, Song Qingshu pushed open the door to his room. Hey, why is there a pot of flowers? As soon as he entered the door, Song Qingshu noticed the pot of yellow flowers on the table in the room. It smells quite good. Song Qingshu did not have any suspicions. After all, the flower arrangements in the mansions of these high-ranking officials and nobles were changed every day. Presumably, the maidservant had come to exchange for fresh flowers. After closing the door, Song Qingshu lay on the bed and could not help but begin to throb again. He hesitated about whether he should take advantage of the night to run to Cheng Yaojia's room. Anyway, Lu Gunying would not say anything and would even cover for the two of them. As the scene appeared in his mind, the more Song Qingshu thought about it, the more excited he became. He could not help but stand up. However, before he left, he gave up on the idea. The risk was too great. If Han Xingzhou and Li Keshio were exposed, it would not look good. Just as he was about to go back to sleep, Song Qingshu suddenly felt dizzy. He could not help but wonder, why is the after effect of this wine so strong? Thank you to Bingo Big Ice Fruit for your reward again. At the same time, thank you to other enthusiastic readers for your support. Fourth update. Also, I have to say that many readers came to me as if they had discovered a new continent, saying that Machi Shu's surname is Machi, not Wan. Can I say that they did not read the book properly? Of course, I know the pronunciation of these two words. In the original text, it was clearly written that they changed their surname to Wan to avoid the revenge of their enemies. Chapter 1109. Song Qingshu bitterly laughed. Why is my alcohol tolerance getting worse and worse? As he spoke, he closed his eyes. After a few seconds, he suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a hint of sharpness in his eyes. No, with his current cultivation, he could be said to be able to drink 1,000 cups without getting drunk. If he used his inner force to evaporate the alcohol, then drinking would be like drinking water. Why would he feel dizzy? Could it be that he was poisoned? Song Qingshu's expression was somewhat unsightly as he recalled the details of the feast just now. Everyone ate the same dishes, and the wine was also poured from the same jar. With his cultivation of being able to see and hear in all directions, it was impossible for anyone to poison him during the feast. Moreover, with his cultivation, although he wasn't invincible, normal poisons couldn't hurt him. Since it wasn't during the banquet, then where did he get poisoned? Song Qing-shu recalled everything that happened after he left the banquet. Nothing strange happened, so he returned to his room. At this time, he suddenly smelled a faint fragrance, followed by a wave of dizziness. Song Qing-shu suddenly turned around and stared at the bouquet of yellow flowers. Could it be that? Song Qing-shu didn't dare to stay in the room any longer. He hurriedly ran out. The cool breeze in the courtyard made him feel refreshed. It really was that. Song Qing-shu turned around to look at the flowers. The golden leaves seemed to emit a strange and eerie light. What kind of poison is this? Song Qing-shu hurriedly circulated his inner energy to expel the poison. But to his shock, he discovered that his inner energy was intermittent and could not circulate normally. This was no small matter. It should be known that ever since he mastered the divine technique, the inner qi in his body had formed its own circulatory cycle, repeating endlessly. Who knew that he could not circulate his inner qi now? Could it be the Seven Hearts cherry apple? The most famous poison in the Golden Book appeared in Song Qing-shu's mind. In the legend of the flying fox, even the masters of poison schools were afraid of it. It could be seen how terrifying it was. However, he quickly shook his head. The Seven Hearts cherry apple was colorless and odorless. Its characteristics were completely different from this flower. At this moment, his heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he raised his head to look at the corridor. A round of applause was heard. The Golden Snake King is indeed the Golden Snake King. Even after being poisoned by the Golden Ripple flower, he still managed to hold on for so long without fainting. Golden Ripple flower. Song Qing-shu's expression finally changed. As someone who was familiar with the plot of the Golden Book, how could he not know about this poison? In the city-linked chant, Ding Dian, who had mastered the scripture of the divine radiating scripture, was poisoned to death without any resistance. Because City-Link chant was not as popular as Flying Fox on the Snowy Mountain and Legend of the Flying Fox, it was not as famous as Seven Hearts Cherry Apple. However, in Song Qing-shu's eyes, it was even more poisonous than Seven Hearts Cherry Apple. The Seven Heartfelt Flowering Apple was colorless and odorless, allowing one to die painlessly. Although it was extremely poisonous, there was a way to detoxify it. However, the Golden Ripple flower was different. Not only was it highly poisonous, there was no antidote for it. Fortunately, Song Qing-shu's cultivation was profound, far above that of Ding Dian, who had mastered the scripture of the divine radiating scripture. At the same time, he did not come into direct contact with the Golden Ripple flower's poison like Ding Dian had, which was why he could barely hold on. In fact, this was not due to the carelessness of the person who poisoned him. Wan Gui had already smeared the table, chair, and bed in the room with the Golden Ripple flower's poison. As long as Song Qing-shu's skin came into contact with it, he would die without a doubt. However, his knowledge was limited, and he did not know that at Song Qing-shu's cultivation level, there was a faint layer of protective Zhen Qi circulating around his body. Thus, how could the poison powder possibly come into contact with his skin? Unfortunately, although the protective Zhen Qi could protect him from the poison powder, it could not block out the fragrance of the Golden Ripple flower. Song Qing-shu was still poisoned. Sensing that his cultivation was gradually becoming undetectable, Song Qing-shu's heart turned cold. However, he was not someone who would give up easily. He quickly gathered his thoughts and stared closely at the group of people who had just barged into the courtyard. The person in the lead was naturally Machi Suo, but unfortunately, Song Qing-shu did not recognize her. Noticing the young man beside her, Song Qing-shu was both shocked and angry. "Wan Gui, why are you here?" Wan Gui laughed savagely. "Didn't expect this, did you? All these years, I knew that you and Di Yun had been secretly investigating me. Unfortunately, you're going to die by my hands first." Song Qing-shu snorted coldly, shooting a wisp of sword chi directly towards Wan Gui. "Gui, watch out." Machi Suo did not expect her opponent to still have the ability to resist, and was greatly alarmed. The guards beside her had already taken out their shields and placed themselves in front of the two. With a poochie sound, the shields instantly shattered, and a bloody hole appeared in the chest of the guard in front of Wan Gui. Following that, Wan Gui let out a miserable scream and fell backwards to the ground. Guier! Machi Suo hurriedly ran over, and the guards who had already followed her raised even more shields and placed themselves in front of the two, preventing Song Qingshu from attacking again. What a pity! Song Qingshu frowned deeply. Now that he had been poisoned, a portion of his strength had been consumed by the poison, and the other portion was used to suppress the poison in his body. The amount of strength he could use to attack was probably less than 10% of his usual strength. After piercing through the guard's shields and his body, the remaining sword chi was like an arrow at the end of its flight, not enough to kill Wan Gui. As soon as he circulated his true chi, Song Qingshu immediately felt the poison in his body begin to bite back, and he hurriedly suppressed the poison with a gloomy face, not daring to move again. Unfortunately, the gold wave flower's poison was too strange, and with every second that passed, the true chi in his body was being corroded a little bit. With this, it would not be long before Song Qingshu was poisoned to death. In fact, it was already a miracle that Song Qingshu could last until now. Back then, Ding Jian had fainted after taking a whiff of the gold wave flower's fragrance. Song Qingshu had stayed in the room with the gold wave flower for so long, and had taken at least 8 to 10 whiffs of it, yet he was still able to attack. This was also why Machi Ruo and Wan Gui had miscalculated, which was why they had swaggered towards him. Unfortunately, Song Qingshu had been poisoned too deeply and had not been able to take the opportunity to successfully kill them. Even so, the grandfather and grandson pair were still incomparably shocked. With Song Qingshu as the center, the group of people all retreated several dozen feet, staring at him as if they were looking at a monster. The wound on Wan Gui's chest had already been treated, and it was no longer a problem. He hid behind the guard and looked at Song Qingshu with hatred. Unfortunately, he had already been terrified by the attack just now, and did not dare to provoke him again, for fear that Song Qingshu would risk his life to drag him down with him. Wan Gui thought to himself that his grandfather was the current prime minister, and he could be considered young and promising, with a lovely wife and daughter at home, and a bright future waiting for him. In any case, Song Qingshu had already been poisoned by the gold wave flower, and it would not be long before he died. So how could he put himself in danger? At such a critical moment, Song Qingshu suddenly had a funny thought. If I had known it would be like this, I really would have gone to find Jiao Wan just now, and I wouldn't have been poisoned. Gentlemen really don't live long, and lecherous live for 1,000 years. Li Kexiu, since you've come, why don't you come out? Are you too ashamed to see me? Song Qingshu snorted heavily. Now that things had come to this, how could he not understand that Wan Gui and his group could openly plot against him in the Admiral's office without Li Kexiu's help? No wonder Li Kexiu had previously taken the initiative to find him, and so easily agreed to join Golden Snake Camp. No wonder during the afternoon's discussion of the merger, she had made all sorts of concessions, so it was all to numb him. Song Qingshu suddenly felt a bit of heartache. He did not know if Li Yuanji knew about the entire matter. Fifth update. Thank you everyone for your monthly votes these past 2 days, allowing me to rise from 20th place to 17th place. Thank you everyone for your support. But now, the votes at the bottom of the monthly list are about the same. If everyone still has monthly votes, I hope you will not be stingy in supporting me and reduce the risk of me being killed. I feel like I'm in the football relegation zone and could be demoted at any time. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.